Hello, hello, my little blue-ringed octopi. How are you all doing? I hope you are well, and welcome back to AIMBOT, where we are applying morality to certain situations off the Reddit Am I the Arsehole page to see if we can apply secular humanism to everyday situations. And I want to know what's right, who's in the wrong, who's good, who's bad, who's moral, who's immoral, who's terrible, who's great. I haven't actually done the responses actually, so I'll do that. Yeah, I was just in a little conversation in the chat with Left-Handed Jedi about people picking up blue-ring octopuses. Yeah, don't pick up blue-ring octopuses. And yeah, I get that you were joking now, but I have seen video of people picking them up and poking them in order to make their blue spots appear, which to an Australian is horrific because they are like one of the most venomous creatures in the world. I think from memory, the most venomous is actually a coral sea snake. I think that's the most like deadly kind of thing from memory. Of course, it's in Australia, of course it is, but it lives around reefs, which I don't live at, so I don't care really, which is fine, let me get this set up. Is immoral. So yeah, well, we're trying to apply secular humanism, and my particular sort of inclination with secular human, which is sort of a consequentialism and utilitarianism to sort of what these situations are. And really, I mean, not only is it kind of fun to go through and read these situations, which some of them you're sort of you kind of think, how can you not know whether this is that it's a bad thing that you're doing? Or, like, how could you possibly think you're doing wrong? Sometimes it is very interesting to see if we can apply it. It does seem to be that we can. How much of that is based upon just moral intuition and how much is actual, some kind of actual, as Alex O'Connor put it, a calculation. I really want to find out how much can I change my mind. Um, okay, so I'll get up the first one, and I will share my screen. Lynn can't join me today; she's got a medical appointment, so we shall. Everything's fine. Don't worry too much. But yeah, she just can't join us today because of a prior engagement. So yeah, this is basically where we're going. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. And I really want to find out your opinion on, whether you are, whether who you think is the bad guy, who you think is the good guys or girls, or neither. Is everybody doing fine? Is everybody absolutely terrible and should be ashamed of themselves? I really want. But the more interesting thing isn't so much. To me, it isn't so much who is doing wrong and right. It's how you came to the determination of what they're doing and doing wrong or right. So yeah, the bit of truth. Good to see you. I really think that is what I'm after. Okay, and so just for your information, I haven't read these before. Whatever comes up comes up. I don't curate them. I just whatever comes up. So this is my first time seeing them. So my first reaction as well as yours. So whatever comes up, and deal with it and try and apply some secular humanism. Now, just an overview for those who haven't seen an episode before. The secular humanism that I try to implement in my life is based upon the utility of well-being, human well-being. People have often asked me to define. Oh, hi, Big Bad Mama. Andrew, so good to see you. Fantastic art left in my Discord. If you do want to join the Discord, I think I've got a link in the chat, but in the description. Fantastic, mate. Awesome. But Big Bad Mama, so good to see you. I saw your hairy legs earlier last night. Yeah, fantastic. So the secular humanism I try to implement is basically based around human well-being. People ask me to define, well, what is human well-being? Can you define that? Yes, I can. It is the physical and mental health of humans, both as a society overall, and the individual. So sure, I can define well-being. That's not a problem in the slightest. The way that I think it has to be implemented is to say, if somebody has an intention to do harm to somebody else, and by just sheer chance or randomness or just through the series of events, something good happens. The funny thing was, this was kind of covered in Always Sunny, I think, where some person inadvertently yelled something racist, but that made somebody look up and avoid some trouble, kind of thing. That's still immoral in my view, because their intention was not to save the person. It was. So we can look at whether the action would reasonably lead to the well-being of somebody else. Maybe I should do an episode on that. Like, is Always Sunny, can we apply secular morality to Always Sunny in Philadelphia? This episode of, you know, does yelling somebody racist, which causes somebody to avoid being harmed, is that a good thing? I would say no, because we would reasonably expect the reasonable consequences of yelling something racist at somebody is not the mental health of the person you're yelling it at. So I really don't think, or it was a gay slur, maybe. It was a really long time ago I saw it. So, you know, it sort of, yeah. To cease drugs, you may need to start live sessions with everyone. Who's everyone? I don't know what you mean by everyone. That's weird. They sure do, Andrew. But that I found an interesting one, just because of, you know, the argument that, oh, if I did something horrible and it caused good, then it was a good action. I with viewers, what do you mean with viewers? I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't. Okay, well, I mean, sure, cool. Yeah. I Look, send me an email if you want to suggest my format change. Go for it, please do. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'm not after viewers. Thanks anyway. Look, just send me an email if you want to suggest anything. You know, my box is always open. Wow, that came across wrong. My box is always open. And yeah, so, you know, send it in. Send in an email. Put it in a comment. You know, suggest a change in format. I'm more than happy to listen. Intent matters legally and morally. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think that I push back against sort of, there's a version of consequentialism, which is just plain consequentialism. It's just whatever the outcome is whether it is good or bad. And it's sort of, our position as secular humanists is strawmanned a lot with that. People say, oh, if you put people into a machine for just making them happy in order to control them, that's a good thing under secular humanism. Number one, if your intent is to control them, that's not a good thing. The intent matters. So even if they enjoy it at the time, it's the intent that's important. That's number one. Number two, I don't see how just being put in a machine to make them happy helps human well-being. They're happy, they're not well. So, you know, there's a couple of pushbacks on that. But we have heard that one, Sterling, that you know, it just matters of the outcome and not the intent. And I think it has to. It absolutely has to. But and Sterling, I will say this: I don't think that we can just say only the intent matters. Like when you get a lot of things like virtue ethics, right? That it sort of says, hey, it's just your virtues that you display that matters. And I don't think that's true either. I will sort of point to something that I call heroic idiocy kind of thing. Like if somebody goes to some place where people are, you know, shooting guns with the police and they run in to save everybody, you know, they may actually make the situation a lot worse. So just because their intention is good doesn't make it a good act. It's actually a bad act. They ought not to do this. And this is what we got to understand about good and bad. It's what we ought to and what we ought not to do. And so that person, even though their intention was completely pure in the case of heroic idiocy, they ought not to run in and sort of mess up what the police is doing, because that intention cannot reasonably lead to a good outcome. It's going to lead to a bad outcome, and bad being or a lack of human well-being is basically what I'm saying it is. Absolutely. Hello, Tardy Atheist. That's a cool name. It certainly explains everything when you arrive late. It's a self-explanatory name. I love it. I love a self-explanatory name. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so first up. So yeah, if you've got questions about that, let me know. I always love to talk about morality. I don't know why. I think that sort of I've done a lot of thinking about what I ought to and what I ought not to do in order to sort of get through the world. And there was certainly a time in my life where I sort of did things that I look back and go, oh, I really ought not to have done that. And so I think it's valid to be able to look back and go, why should I have not have done that? Right? What is it that makes it the wrong thing to do or the right thing to do? I think without that perspective of saying this is wrong or right, I don't think you can look back and say, well, I ought not to, I ought to have done that. It's why I push back on the people that are sort of moral intuitives, the people that support moral intuition. Like if it's just how you feel or, what your intuition says, how do you look back and say, well, I ought not to have done that? What is telling you that? Because if that was your intuition at the time and what you ought to do is just follow your intuition, then that is necessarily correct. That's the ought thing to do. Oh, absolutely. No, 100% left-handed Jedi. Absolutely. We've got to look back and say, hey, I can only affect things going forward. Like I can't change the past. Totally get where you're coming from. And I 100% agree. And especially like we talk a lot about the shame spiral kind of thing, getting caught in that, well, I'm ashamed of what I've done. That shame leads you to feel worse. Then you feel ashamed of being ashamed. And that shame spiral is terrible, doesn't help anybody. Totally 100% agree. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. But, without some way of distinguishing between sort of right and wrong, if you're just saying moral intuition, then how can anything you do based upon that intuition be right or wrong? How can you look back and say, hey, well, I decided to, call that person a name. That was wrong, but that was your moral intuition at the time. So, I really want to push back on people that want to use moral intuition. I don't think it's useful at all. Well, I think it's useful. I just don't think we should. And people do use moral intuition to make decisions, but I think that intuition is governed by how you think about things. Like if you start to think differently, all of psychotherapy is based upon this, that intuition is largely based on emotions, but the way you think can affect emotions. That's what cognitive behavioral therapy does. It changes the way you think, which changes the way you feel. So I think that sort of looking back and being cognitively aware of the decisions that you've made is the only way to make different intuitive decisions in the future. So I don't think intuition is this thing set in stone. And I think we can change it. First up from our aromatic agency 8653. Why do I think they're oh my God, what is karma? You're selling aromatherapy, aren't you? I have feelings on aromatherapy. I don't think it's good at all. I think aromatherapy is terrible. But admittedly, that is from growing up in a household where my mother believed in aromatherapy. It's absolutely nonsense. It's kind of aromatherapists kind of put across this thing that the more water and the more diluted you make it, the more effective it is. I once saw who was it? James Randi, the late great James Randi, rest in peace, Randy. He went, okay, this is a sort of a sleeping thing. I'm just going to chug the entire thing, and if I go to sleep, then obviously I'm wrong. He didn't go to sleep. he didn't go to sleep. All it is a placebo. Okay. Am I morally bankrupt for making my daughter pay back a $1,000 dress she was supposed to wear in a wedding? Edit. I didn't go to my oldest and pressure her to make Emma a bridesmaid. My oldest gave in after Emma pestered her about it. I didn't even learn about the pestering until after she was added. Am I the arsehole for making my daughter pay back a $1,000 dress she was supposed to wear at a wedding? I don't know. This is weird. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Cuddly. I'm right there with you. Yes, I think that the way, you know, they don't. All the studies have shown that it doesn't actually do anything. I think mostly it is placebo effect, which I have feelings on placebo effect, but you know. Okay, I have a daughter. This is weird. I don't, you know, it depends on what the agreement was before. If you agreed to pay for the dress as long as she went to the wedding, that's fair enough. I think it really comes down to what the expectations were and what your daughter understood the expectations were. So, can we reasonably say that that would lead to human well-being? Not really. It seems like a punitive thing. It seems like you're just trying to punish her, kind of stuff. I think there's probably better ways to handle it, but let's see the circumstances. That's my first sort of intuitive feelings. But let's see the circumstances. I have a daughter, Emma, 16, female, who was supposed to be a bridesmaid in her older sister's wedding. My oldest wasn't planning to have Emma in the wedding party. Okay, so they didn't want Emma in the wedding party. It was Emma who really wanted to be a bridesmaid because she was excited and wanted to be involved. Yeah, and then, you know, I mean, it was her sister. I don't know about traditional weddings, but usually your brothers and sisters are involved in the bridal party. I know I was a groomsman in my brother's wedding, and my brother was a groomsman in mine. I don't. Yeah, that's weird. My oldest agreed to include her, even though it meant extra costs and adjustments. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you want to buck tradition, I don't hold a great store in tradition. But if you're sort of saying, hey, this is traditional, siblings are included in the bridal party out of tradition. I thought maybe that's from my neck of the woods, but I mean, I don't care. The bridesmaids' dresses, shoes, and fittings were about $1,000 each, which we agreed to pay since Emma did not have the cash. The wedding is in a month. Emma suddenly changed her mind. She refusing to wear the dress since she thinks it's ugly, says it is unflattering on her. It is, but didn't speak up. Oh, I got to pass this English. It is, but didn't speak up at any part. She said she felt uncomfortable, wasn't close to the other bridesmaids, and didn't want to participate anymore. I reminded her that she had been the one to be pushing to be part of a wedding, but she was firm and backed out. Now we're stuck with the $1,000 dress that can't be returned. I told Emma that since she was the one that wanted to be in the wedding and then backed out, she will need to pay us back for the dress, either by working part-time or payment plan using her gift money. Emma is upset and says it's unfair, claiming we're punishing her for not wanting to do something she wasn't comfortable with anymore. Multiple family members think I am too harsh. Yeah, you're probably too harsh. If she doesn't have that 1,000, I can't imagine the level of stress that it causes somebody to like not have $1,000 and have to pay it back, kind of thing. I mean, there's probably other ways you could go about doing this. I don't know. I mean, you're basically saying, yeah, it is a horrible dress and stuff like that. I think that this could, you know, sort of be resolved by sort of saying, well, it doesn't matter the dress, teaching your daughter. I mean, 16 is a very hard age to argue with, admittedly, but Yeah, this is a tricky one actually, because I get that, you don't want her to show behavior that says, hey, if something's slightly uncomfortable or you feel like you aren't aesthetically pleasing, then you can't support your sister kind of thing. I get that. But, sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. I think that if my brother was getting married and I didn't like the style, I would still wear it just because it's my brother's marriage, and I'd still be in the as a groomsman. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that $1,000 dress you can't return. Yeah, it sounds punitive to me, and I don't think that's sort of um I don't think it's a very good idea to sort of just yeah, no, I get you. I get you. It sucks. Your child is being a brat. I get you. Your child is being a real brat, but I don't know. I think that sort of it is being too harsh because you could afford it when she was going, but now you can't afford it, and you've got to get her to pay it back. Um, I think a better thing to do would explain that, hey, if you back out of things like that, people will not ask you to do it in the future, right? That this will have consequences down the line. Rather than just a punitive thing, explain that this kind of behavior, no one's going to ask you to be a bridesmaid if you in fact sort of you know get them to buy a dress and then back out. This has consequences rather than just sort of a punitive, oh well, if you're not going to do it, we're gonna punish you kind of thing. There's much better ways to go about this. At 16, will she understand? Maybe not. At 17, will she understand? Maybe not. But this is the kind of thing that you will understand eventually, that this kind of thing has consequences. Next time one of her siblings gets married, wants to be in the bridal party, and she said, the sister, they say, I want to be in the bridal party. No, you backed out of getting a dress last time. You will not have that responsibility again. That will actually be significant, not just sort of, oh, we could afford it before. And to be honest with you, I think that sort of sitting her down and saying, look, it's just one day, and I know that you don't like it, but this is important to your sister. And, you know, there's times in our lives where we got to do things that we don't particularly like for the well-being of the people around us. It happens. And um, so I think that sort of everyone is being a immoral here. I think that I mean, yes, the girl is very young, but can the consequences of getting her family to pay something worth 1,000 and then not following through on it, is that good for well-being? No, it's not. It's going to upset her sister. It's going to upset her mother. It's going to upset people. But I mean, I'd give a bit of leeway for somebody that is a bit younger. Although at 16, you hopefully are looking at sort of becoming an adult in a couple of years. But 16 is a difficult age. It is a difficult age. A lot of things at 16 you're expected to do as an adult, but you're not given the responsibility of an adult. It is difficult to be 16. You're starting to learn to drive at the sort of end of 17. You're expected to take responsibility, like watching your mother and sorry, watching your siblings, your younger siblings. You're expected to behave in a certain way, but you're not given any of the sort of leeway to be that person. So it is hard. Mother have charged. I'll put poster just so we know who we're talking about. Hey, Big Bad Mama, so good to see you. I think I said hello to you earlier. I saw a video of Big Bad Mama's wading through some water. You have very hairy legs. Just saying. I had a good hard look. Very very hairy. Um, charged her daughter. And I'll start the poll. I want to know what you think. Please do let me know. Please vote and show me what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? I think the multiple family members, I think they are being too harsh. I really do. Yeah, I kind of agree with family members. Not the arsehole. We'll see what the comments of Reddit say. We'll go through while people are voting and see what the comments say. A lot of people are making assumptions, quite opposite of the OP has started. Dress is the same for all bridesmaids, and Emma has only met the other bridesmaids self-supervised, so there haven't been any bullying. I don't know. I don't. Has that been a running theme? I wouldn't expect so. I wouldn't expect so. You know what? My brother, I was a groomsman at his wedding, and he didn't tell me that there would be a formal dance at the wedding kind of thing. Like I was paired up with one of the bridesmaids and we're expected to dance. Didn't tell either of us that we had to do, a waltz basically. I I had not waltzed for like I learned how to waltz once and I never did again. I staggered through it, but I wasn't angry at him. It was just, dude, I don't know what you're expecting from me. I look, I was in the same boat as the bridesmaid I was paired up with. She didn't know how to waltz either, so we just sort of staggered around. The fact that she's 16 and bulldozed her way into the position of dyed braid, and now she's realized the style of dress, she's throwing a tantrum. Sure is. She's 16, and I'm not sure what you expect. Frankly, how she feels about the dress doesn't matter. The wedding is about the bride, and the bride same dress. Yeah. No, I do agree with that. She's either suck it up or take responsibility for a decision to pay back the cost of the dress. Yeah, well, I mean, if she doesn't have the money, what do you expect her to do? She was perfectly fine spending in real consequence. She's upset. Made it clear they did not pressure the bride. There was no bullying, and Emma made clear she's dropped out because she didn't like the dress back from the alterations. I'm a guy, but I feel like she's expecting the dress to be flattering into her style. This is the perfect opportunity to teach her a lesson on what it's actually like to be a bridesmaid. Yeah, that's true. Bridesmaid, you're really at the whim of the bride. Hey, Phantom, good to see you, mate. Did people make comments about the dress looking bad in it? Did you make that comment? Because yeah, she did say it does look bad. So did you make the comment that it looks ugly on her? Because she thinks it's ugly. It is, but didn't speak up at any part. That's a good thing. Good comment. Yeah, I agree. Oh, well, let's upvote the actual thing because I want. Yeah, let's upvote it. It is a good situation. For some reason, weddings, there's so many of them in here. Weddings, like as far as social moral quandaries are concerned, it seems like weddings, birthdays, sort of family stuff, and sort of employment situation, they're the top ones, like seriously. But weddings, so many of them are like, am I the asshole for doing this? They're a moral quandary. They're a moral minefield as far as I'm concerned. It certainly, this has opened my eyes to where the moral minefields are in life, and apparently weddings are it. Like seriously, living together, that's another moral minefield. Should I get this person to pay for this or do this? That's another minefield. But anyway, specifically chosen to make her uncomfortable. What is a relationship with sister? Do you explain to her in advance what a wedding party means? The almost universal expectations that bridesmaid dresses look a bit shit. Yeah, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Like so often bridesmaid dresses look a bit crappy. Maybe that's by design. Maybe they're there to make the bride look better. There's so much missing about how she came to decisions. Yeah, that's a good point. No one commented on it. It is the same dress as the other bridesmaid. It just doesn't work for her body type. Wow. Okay. Yes, it was explained that her and her sister are not super close. Was the bridesmaid's dress selected prior to the ugly daughter? Prior, they already picked it out, just didn't buy it yet. Didn't you mention she's not? Did she imagine how it'd be being a bridesmaid dress? Okay, yeah. So she's very young. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's very a good idea to make her pay for it. I think that sort of explaining consequences is better. You can always sell the dress, like, you might not be able to get the entire amount back for it, but no, yours was not better than this one. Yours was faker than this one. Yours was 100% faker than this one. Make her pay or be a bridesmaid. This probably messes up the whole bride party because the number of groomsmen will be off. Yeah, or you just drop a groomsman. Obviously, you added one to the thing to accommodate for her. Emma is too young and immature to grasp that. Other heart-to-heart setting helped her through her insecurities. Yeah, I think that's way better. But I don't know. I don't think making her pay is the um not the asshole. There's a valid lesson learned. 1,000 seems like a lot for a teenager, but you're more careful in that. Okay, so generally they're saying not the asshole or not morally bankrupt. I listen. You made the bride add her. You allowed a child to make a decision. This is on you. May pay for half. Yeah, it's maybe a good compromise. It's crazy to make her pay the whole 1,000 as you as the parent should have shut this down in the first place. It just says the bride agreed to include her. Yeah. But, this is always one side of it. Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, let's go and see what the commenters got to say. Oh yeah, there you go. Big Bad Mama's got the same idea. Yeah, make her pay half. That's probably a more fitting kind of thing. Yeah, pardon the pun. Yours was not better. Yours was not better. Yours was just faker. And that's probably a reason for that. You can always sell a dress that looks a bit shit. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can always get rid of it. Like it may not go for as much, but you can always get, a bridesmaid dress never been worn. It's fine. It's fine. Someone will always buy bad fashion. That's what I've learned over the course of my life. Okay. And how did the poll go? Jimmy poll. I love the poll. Please, nobody soundbite that. Okay, so everyone is immoral and poster is immoral. So everyone does agree that the poster is kind of really crappy to make her. Look, I'm jealous of anybody's writing skills, Big Bad Mama. I'm jealous of anybody's, quite frankly. I am absolutely jealous of anybody's. 100%. What, you thought I would sort of, push back on that? Absolutely not. I'm jealous of my wife's writing skills. She's actually a very, very, very good writer. All I can do is talk. I'm all talk. I will admit it. I'm all talk. I admit it. I admit it. Don't sound like that either. Okay, next one is Radiant Camera 474. What is karma? Okay, so it wasn't karma on the last one. I still dislike this person for being an aromatherapist or associated with aromatherapy in some way. Am I the asshole for refusing to sign a family contract during my dad's wedding? See what I mean? All weddings, all day. It's a moral minefield. Farsoot, the Aussie protests too much. Yeah, I can write. Like, yes, I can write. What gets it for me is the actual structure and planning of it. Like my ADHD kicks in and I just can't get through in a very structured way. I can do short stories, okay? It's the longer stuff that I just fall apart and I can't make things come together. My ADHD kicks my ass. While my ASD causes me to focus on it. It's a brutal combination sometimes. I do have to say that. Am I the asshole for refusing to sign a family contract during my dad's wedding? What's in the contract? Is there a fine print? A family contract. does that mean that is your dad getting remarried? Yeah, your dad's getting remarried and they want you to sign a contract to be a family? I'm not sure about that one, Chief. If you want to marry someone, fine, but I don't. What the hell? My mum died 4 years ago and my dad's engaged to Anne. Well, it's good that your dad moved on. Like this whole idea that somebody dies, it's really tragic and my heart feels for everybody concerned. People have to move on. The reason why it gets into such a moral quandary is because is it right to move on if someone is still grieving? That's the question that really it usually comes down to in these situations. Like you lose your wife, but your kids are still grieving and you want to move on. I'm not sure it's right to do. They need to be able to deal with their grief. But so many times the dad either moves on and gets a new, and then expects the children who are still grieving to treat it like their new mother. And don't forget, there's no time limit on grief, or decides not to move on at all, instead of doing what I think they should do, which is get some professional help with grief and loss to help them move on. It is not healthy to force someone through a grieving process, to basically say, hey, you've just got to move on. You've got to get a new life. You've got to accept this person. You've got to, be all of these things because, they're gone. That's not healthy. But it's also not healthy to be grieving forever. Grieving is not a state that you reside in. It's a process. It's the process of letting go. And you never fully let go, but there is a grieving stages that you do have to get through. And professional help can help with that, discussing it, discussing the stages of grieving, finding out where you are in it. There's people who professionally will deal with the grieving process. There's 5 stages of grieving, anger, denial. I can't remember the rest of it. It's like denial, anger, depression. Oh God, I can't remember the other 2. But one of the last one's acceptance. So I guess I can remember one of the other 2. I just can't remember one of them. So acceptance, basically, you accept that they're gone, and it's okay. You will have those emotions come back up, but grieving is coming to the acceptance that they are gone. And it's so wild. It's like religion, where they're sort of like, oh no, they're still somewhere up and watching over you, kind of thing. And it's like, no, that is antithetical to the whole grieving process. They're gone. And it's so tragic and so sad. And whatever you feel about that is totally fine. But that acceptance has to come. Oh, bargaining. Yeah, that's the one I forgot. Yeah, bargaining. Yeah. And so a lot of the time you see religious people stuck in bargaining. If I just do this, this, and this, I'm going to get to see them again. They're in bargaining and they never leave it. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. You have to accept that person is gone. Their wedding is 3 months away and Anne has a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. Dad has me, 15 male. Okay, young man. Dad and Anne want this wedding to be the start of a new family life for all of us after the loss, because Anne's husband, her kid's dad, died too. Oh, that's kind of tragic, but you can understand why they found each other. They see this as a happy new chapter, an exciting chance to grow the family or whatever. Okay, that's really insensitive. They want us not only to accept the wedding, but accept each other as family and commit to being close, loving each other, choosing each other, and swearing we'll always be a family. Anne's son is excited about it. Oh, okay. 8-year-old son, yeah. Her daughter is a bit more wobbly about it. She feels guilty about wanting another dad, yeah, and wanting us to be a family, and there's a part of her that doesn't want it. She's admitted this in therapy that we're all going to. Family therapy is a good idea. I'm not excited. I accept my dad getting married. I can't imagine the family therapist is like, oh, this is a good idea. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that is the case, that the family therapy would like, no, sign a contract to say that you love each other and will be a family. I cannot imagine that is the case. I accept my dad's getting married, but I don't accept the rest of the stuff that they want. I don't love Anne or her kids. I don't want another mum or mum figure take on the role that mum should have. I don't want to commit to always being there for Anne and her kids or to promise love when I don't think I'll ever love them. This isn't exciting to me. It's sad. It's shitty, actually. Fair enough. That's the way you feel. Look, feelings are always valid. Like, so when I say feelings are always valid, it may not be the reasons behind it. Like if we think someone's talking behind our back and we feel angry about that, that's a valid feeling, but the reason may not be true, right? It may not be true that they're talking behind our back, but it's always a valid feeling. We don't invalidate the feeling. We look at, is that, is the reason why I'm feeling that valid? Like, is it true that they're talking behind my back, or is that just insecurity from me? What we want to do, though, is say, hey, what is this feeling telling me about myself? What is it saying about me? Rather than, getting angry and sort of saying, well, my anger validates my suspicions or validates what I think is happening. But the feeling itself is always valid. The good question is, why are you feeling it? And that's what we want to focus on. So I never invalidate feelings, but the facts of why those feelings are coming up, that I'll argue with, absolutely argue with. But it's shitty to him. Yeah, he misses his mum. I totally get it. I think this is really sad and shitty. It's really sad and shitty. It is. It's a terrible situation. It just reminds me, when mum isn't here, I'll never have my family back. To me, this is dad creating a new family, but not my new family. I told the therapist this. She wants this to be a discussion when the other kids aren't there, but so far Anne doesn't want any sessions that don't include her kids. Well, look, I think that, yeah, so I think the therapist isn't a bad therapist. The contract was mentioned in therapy. Our therapist tried to discourage it, but Dad and Anne said they want it to be more than just them, but all of us. They asked in therapy if we'd sign it, and I said no. I was the only one. Anne's kids looked sad, and I said no. Anne looked offended and really surprised. I don't think she realized someone could say no. Well, it's a contract. Like, why is the 15-year-old being the most mature person in all of this? My dad looked unhappy with me, but he didn't say anything. The therapist wanted to talk some more, and she asked again, 5th time, if Dad and Anne and I could talk, or just me and my dad. Anne said no again. Why is the 15-year-old the adult? My dad wanted to know why I couldn't say yes and why I'm refusing to do something minor that would make everyone else happy. He told me one day in the future, I'll be so glad I was doing it because we'll all be close and it'll be a nice reminder. He doesn't know that. Okay, he doesn't know that, right? Anne could cheat on him and he breaks up and it could be a whole mess. This is definitely not something you should be doing. Asking people to sign a contract when they have no choice over it, like, this isn't, what the hell are they doing? Why is the 15-year-old the most mature person? And I can understand why the kids would be upset. I can understand that. Hang on, let me get my poll. I love a poll. Don't clip that. I love a poll, but I haven't got it organized quite yet. The poster immoral for refusing contract. I don't know who would do. Why would you think that's a good idea to start with? Why would you think when you are a widow and you meet up with a widower, which is the correct term for a male widow, is a widower, and sort of look to get married, why you would force the children to accept you, right? Why would you do that in the first place? Now, my parents got divorced. My mother met a guy, and she was sort of involved in a relationship with him, and I didn't like him. Now, it wasn't, to be honest with you, it wasn't like, because I didn't really get along well with my dad. When I say I didn't get along well with my dad, he was just absent. He's an absent father, just sort of was never really there, even when he was there. And the people who have had sort of disinterested fathers will understand exactly what I mean. You know, he sort of hung around, he slept, he, you know, never had a deep conversation with him. Never told me he loved me, you know, just was present, I guess, but not interested or doing anything with us at all. So, which isn't bad. That's the way he was raised. That's, you know, that's part of the cycle of, you know, the sort of how he was raised and how, you know, sort of men were treated kind of thing. So, but my mum met another guy. So it wasn't sort of jealousy over having a father. He was just an ass, right? He used to sort of fat shame his daughter. He was selfish. He spent a lot of money when growing up, I grew up in a very frugal family. Like, we didn't splurge on things. It was very controlled money because we were in sort of, you know, lower middle class kind of thing. My dad was a tradesman, so, you know, things weren't exactly well to do or anything. We're in sort of a, you know, I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't, we weren't well off or anything, but he wanted to live lavishly and I thought it was terrible. So this whole thing was me not liking his attitude and the way he was. But, you know, my mother was like, okay, well, you got to accept him. You know, he's part of the family. And to a degree I did. You know, I'd never got along with him, but didn't, you know, I would never sign a contract to say that I would love him forever. Like, I didn't, you know, I can understand how this poor boy feels. Like, you're expecting me to love somebody that he may not even like, much less love. You know, you can't expect that. But the thing was that he eventually, my mum and him broke up when he was, you know, he was an ass. He was manipulative. He was horrible. He was narcissistic. He was a terrible person. And later on, she sort of said, yeah, no, I should have seen that. He was a terrible person. He does not know this will work out, right? He doesn't know that. He just wants it to work out. I cannot imagine a situation where I would force a 15-year-old to sign a contract saying that the second wife should be loved by the children and sign a contract to do so. Come on now. What are you doing? What are you doing? Not the ass of, yeah, no, I agree. And here's the thing. The therapist is saying, hey, it's not a good idea. Listen to the therapist, right? Start listening to the therapist. Obviously, Anne, the new mother, isn't listening. She's like, no, I don't want a therapy session without my kids there. The 15-year-old obviously doesn't feel comfortable saying, well, I don't love these other siblings, because it just causes tension. It could be framed that, hey, it's nothing against you guys. I don't dislike you. It's just, you know, it conflicts with my memory of my mother kind of thing and makes me feel sad. And being able to articulate that for a 15-year-old is really hard. Like, especially when there's people in the room who are excited about it. You know, I don't know. It's very, very horrible. I don't know why the 15-year-old is the adult in the room. It's crazy. My brother-in-law and his second wife tried to do this when they got married and blended their families 10 years ago. The kids wanted, my brother-in-law and his second wife, yeah. The kids wanted no part of it. They didn't like each other, but the parents went ahead with the marriage and the family contract. I've never heard of this before. Things never improved, and now brother-in-law is getting a divorce for the second time. Yeah, you don't know it'll work out. And a family contract doesn't automatically make it work out. You can't, and I've said this in other episodes, you can't force relationships on people. And I need stalkers and fanboys to listen real hard. You can't force relationships on people. Like, it doesn't work. All it does is breed resentment. So, you know, the kid is forced to do a family contract. They're going to resent you. If you try to enforce that contract to make them like their new brothers and sisters, their step brothers and sisters, they're going to resent them. It's a disaster waiting to happen. This is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. The therapist is trying to say, hey, don't do that. That's a good idea. Sounds like a big fighting waiting to happen when the kids hate it and don't like each other. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is. And resentment is the thing that's going to build. Like, you will resent those people because you're forced to like them. That's not how anything works. You can't be forced to like people. Except if it's Big Bad Mama. I'm just forced to like them because they're so damn likable. I feel like I'm forced. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. I actually do like Big Bad Mama. It's so sad that your dad and Anne are literally disregarding, but what you and the therapist say to them? Yes. Yes. Is it a religious Christian thing? I have no idea. I've never heard of this before. I've never even heard of the concept of a family contract for a new family. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a reaction to, oh, too many families are breaking up. We'll make a contract to stop it happening. I mean, if it is the most black and white, uncerebral, unthoughtful thing you could do. Like, oh, we're going to stop a marriage breaking up by forcing people to sign a contract. No. The only way contracts work in legalistic senses when you do have a contract is that basically it's a prescription for what will happen if that agreement is broken, right? Like, so you have a contract with an MBA agency, right? And that says you will get paid this amount and attend these things and whatever, but it will also have stipulations of what will happen if that contract is broken, or there'll be some way to remedy once the contract is broken. This, I mean, it will prevent people from doing whatever because there's consequence, but this doesn't prevent anything. Like, it I don't know. Cannot force you to have a relationship with it. Yeah. One grows organically, great, but forcing it will build resentment. Yep. They know what it's about. If this contract is really so minor, then why is your dad and Anne so pushy about it? Clearly it's not minor to them, nor should it be minor to you. Maybe tell your dad that if we agree to therapy alone with you, then you'll consider the contract. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. They want to happen so badly because they want us all to be the same page about being a family. They see us signing that as willing to make sure we become a nuclear family, that we treat each other the way like we would a bio family. I don't know that my dad would agree to that. I think he'd make me say yes even before considering going against what Anne wanting everyone there and not leaving out of therapy. Okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's kind of like I feel like that one of the children is going, well, what if you just break up again, and somebody saying, hey, that's not going to happen, and then her going, no, I'll make a contract so it won't happen. But that's essentially lying to the child. Like, if you're going to the child, look, it's a contract, we're not going to break up the family, you're basically saying that contract's going to prevent it, which it won't. You're essentially lying at that point because that contract isn't going to prevent the family from breaking up. It's not going to do anything. It's just, it is a it's a placebo. It's a toothless tiger. It's not it. Anne refusing into therapy. Yeah, no, I agree. She sucks. Well, I mean, it's not the individual therapist against me, dad, and dad getting therapy together, or me, dad, and her together. Solo therapy has already kind of happened because therapists met or a few times on her own. Okay, so the therapist actually sounds reasonable and good. So a therapist can't tell you what to do and what not to do. They can recommend things and not recommend things, but they won't actually outright tell you. And I would say that the therapist has strongly recommended against any kind of contract. I'm starting to feel sorry for the therapist, to be honest with you, the family therapist. Like, the family therapist is probably going, look, I strongly recommend that you don't make any contract. And they're going, no, we'll make a contract. That'll fix everything. Poor therapist, like, seriously, they're probably doing their damn best to make this work out, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think the Reddit's unanimous. Definitely not morally bad at all. And I don't think so either. I think he's actually being, having those boundaries and being morally correct by refusing to sign a contract if he's not even sure he can honor the contract. Like, why is this kid being punished or looked down upon for being honest, open, and saying, hey, I don't think I can fulfill this contract, so I'm not going to sign it? He should be rewarded for that kind of integrity, because that is a good thing. It's good for his well-being. It's good for everybody else's well-being. He's being honest. If you punish a 15-year-old for being honest, what are you going to get out of that? Yeah, you guessed it. A dishonest 16-year-old is exactly what you're going to get out of that. That's essentially what you're going to get. Yeah, you should sit him down and go, no, respect your decisions, but absolutely, like, impressed with your honesty. It is good that that 15-year-old can come to you and say, hey, I can't do this. It goes against my values. Man, I'm actually really impressed with this 15-year-old. For a 15-year-old, good head on your shoulders, mate. Absolutely fantastic. The parents, what are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. Let's see. What have you people got to say? What have you lovely people got to say? Oh, Deviant's right. Hello, Deviant. How you doing? It's Deviant Outcast's fault? I don't see how it can be. Stockholm Syndrome. Okay, so Stockholm Syndrome, that's not in the DSM-5, right? And it's not really a thing. So Stockholm Syndrome, and I have to look it up, it kind of is related to something like a coping mechanism, but it's a proposed condition. It's a contested illness to doubts about the legitimacy of the thingo. It's never been included in the DSM, and it's not really consistent with psychological thought. But there is something there. I don't think it's entirely invalid to sort of point out Stockholm Syndrome. At the same time, it's not 100% a thing. It's kind of one of those things that some psychologists think is a thing and some aren't, but it's not in the DSM, which means that it's not a recognized condition. Okay, she should submit a counter contract and or revisions and amendments to the current contract and vote on it. Okay, sure. I mean, like, a contract you should be able to negotiate. I'm not sure exactly what they would do, but what I would probably do is ask for solo time with the therapist and go through with the therapist. Because a lot of the times, and I want to really point this out, a lot of the times we're asked to promise things, okay? And working in the work that I have done in the past, it's very hard to promise things sometimes. When you work for a big faceless corporation, you generally have a tendency not to do everything yourself. You're reliant on other people doing things. And people will make you try to promise things, right? To try and promise to deliver this or deliver that when it is under the control of another department or under the control of another wing entirely, or that function has been outsourced, which means that it's been given to a company outside the one that you work in. So it's very hard to promise things. What you can promise to do, though, is what you do. So, some people, and for those who don't know, I worked in sort of internet technical support for a long time and complaints regarding internet for a long time. People will say, promise me you'll get it back on today. The amount of times I have heard that is incredible. Now, for a couple of reasons, you can't promise that. You can't, right? You just can't. Sometimes the upstream, as it's called in the internet biz, upstream is down, which means that it's outside of your company, and something with the larger internet has gone belly up, like the provider your company uses to reach America, for instance, has gone down, right? There's nothing you can do about it. You're waiting on that person to fix the link. a fiber optic cable somewhere has been severed. It happens. It 100% happens. You can't promise that'll be up within a time frame. What you can do is, I promise that I will try my utmost to get the internet up as soon as possible. That is something you can do. You can make your best attempt. And framing in the way of saying, hey, I can't promise that I'm going to love all of these people, but I promise to try as hard as I can to be a loving family member as if they were my biological family. That is something that people will actually accept. And the reason why they accept it is because people understand some things are out of your control. People aren't, I mean, I know that we like to say, oh, well, people are stupid. They're not that stupid. They understand that, hey, if something's wrong with the internet, I might even not even know what the reason is. I may have no idea why it's down. So I can't promise you'll be fixed by today. But what I can promise you is I'll try as everything within my power to get it up and running. That's what I can promise. You haven't broken your word. You're not promising something you can't deliver. And people will feel like you are being honest with them, because here's the trick to making people think that you're being honest with them. Be honest with them. That's the trick, Captain. I'm always honest, right? That's the trick. If you want people to trust you, be trustworthy. Incredible. If you want people to think you have integrity, maintain your integrity. So yeah, I love this idea. You put it back with, I will try to, give my utmost to be a part of the family, etc. Oh, hey, Jess. So good to see you. So good to see you. The family pets get a vote as well. Absolutely. I'm all on board. Whiskers has to vote on whether the family does a contract or not. I'm on board. I'm on board. Whiskers and Fido have to have a say. I'm there. I'm there. The father is more to blame. He's controlled by the wife at the expense of his own child. I don't know that for sure, but it does seem a little that way. I kind of, yeah. I think he wants to please her, and it sounds like she's got issues of, abandonment or maybe loss, which is understandable. She's lost her husband and her family probably, collapsed. It was a really hard time. It's understandable that she's got these issues, but she's now, those issues are now hurting her new stepson. Not cool. You've got to like be honest about that. Yeah, hi Jess. You shouldn't have to sign a contract to love somebody. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it kind of brings into question, are contracts even needed? So my wife and I weren't married for a long time because we just didn't see the point. Like, doing a marriage contract in no way changes your relationship. I often say, you know what changed after I was married? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It didn't change my feelings for my wife. It didn't change anything for my wife. The reason why we got married was more for there's certain legal standards that you have, or legal protections that you have, that we wanted to have, that we wanted to, sort of being able to see somebody if they're in a hospital kind of thing. You have more strength for that if you're actually legally married. Certain situations about if you are institutionalized, for instance, you have a stronger thing. Things like wills, you have a stronger case on the will if you are in fact married, as opposed to what's called de facto or common law marriage, where you're just living together. But really nothing changed, except I have one more thing to forget when I go out, and that's a ring. That's the only thing that changed. Kind of annoying, but I'm willing to pay that for the peace of mind that I do have a better legal standing where it comes to my wife and rights are concerned. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish that sort of people that are together in a de facto or at face value marriage got more protections. And I'd advocate for that. But that's not the world we live in. Either that or someone like me who beats himself up and blames himself for things. I'm not sure what's that in relation to. I'm not sure, Andrew. Sorry, mate. The kid is the only sane one in the family. Yeah, I mean, I think the other kid, like the 8-year-old, is a bit too young to know better, to be honest with you. Even a 12-year-old is a bit too young to know better. But even she, that the 12-year-old is like, yeah, I'm not so certain about this. I don't feel great about it. I'm willing to sign, but I don't feel too great about it. Then she shouldn't sign it. Like, I get that a 12-year-old's not going to know that, though. You know, that if they're feeling hesitant about a contract, they probably shouldn't sign it. And it sort of says even more, like, what are the parents doing? Their kids are more mature than they are. I even got yelled at and blamed at for getting jumped and stabbed. What? Whoa. Really? If you're yelled at, yeah, that sounds like an abusive relationship. Yeah, have the therapist as an arbiter. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's weird. Yes, it is, and seems manipulative. Yeah, I kind of agree, Sterling. I kind of, I don't think they're trying to be manipulative, but I think that they are being manipulative. Like, it is a manipulation that will build resentment. I kind of agree. I don't think they're trying to be. I think their intention, and here's where I want to get into sort of the way that I apply morality a bit. I think their intention is, hey, we're going to make a nice, happy family and it'll be good for everybody. But is the reasonable consequence of making people sign a contract to be a happy family in actual fact a happy family? And I would say the answer is no. That isn't the reasonable outcome that you would expect. That's not an outcome that you would expect from that, because the contract isn't going to stop family friction or any kind of sort of, problems or fights or arguments. It isn't going to do that. It's just going to build resentment. So I think that you're absolutely right. It is manipulative, but I don't think they're trying to be. That doesn't change the fact that what they're doing is immoral, because their intention does not mesh up with the expected result of what they're doing. That's how I would apply my moral system. Too funny. I used to climb telephone poles for a living. Patching a down cable sucks, but it's good money. Yeah, I was definitely on the phone kind of thing. I was the man in the chair, sending technicians out and stuff like that. So yeah, blame me. It's my fault. Absolutely, absolutely. You can't just agree to like someone you don't. Absolutely, yes, be open to starting a new relationship with these people. Time will tell how. Absolutely. Absolutely. And letting relationships grow organically makes the strongest relationships. That's the trick, like letting them grow organically. And the thing is, they will probably go, oh, well, if there's a fight, that's a terrible thing, kind of stuff. Relationships grow through kind of rift and repair. They're kind of this, that relationship will get stressed and then you repair it and come out better. Relationships aren't just about getting along famously 100% of the time, all the time. That isn't what it's about. Sort of going through hard times and coming to understand the other person, seeing their point of view, accepting that them accepting theirs, and then repairing that relationship. So I think that they're sort of trying to prevent something that is just normal in families. Fighting in families is normal. It is normal. It depends how that fighting emerges. It can be abusive, but if you're just talking about disagreements and arguments about things, it will happen. People have different points of view. And sort of saying, being disappointed in him having a point of view, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I was referring to the kid changes the kid into the liar. Oh, yeah. Don't punish your kids for being honest. That's a real mistake people make. Don't punish them for being honest. The real downside of getting married is they can't live in sin anymore. We all atheists about all want the sinning. Yeah. Because everybody knows that Christians don't sin. Come on now. Been sick? I'm sorry to hear that, Reed. It's good to see you. Just peeking. Oh, thank you very much. It was a great birthday. Actually, I kind of said begrudgingly birthday, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. So thank you, Reed. I really appreciate it, though. It was really good. A lot of people round, a lot of people wishing me well. It's lovely. I so appreciate it. It really is wonderful. It was mentally abusive for sure. Dad was a bit physically, yeah. Yep, fair enough. And that does sound mentally abusive. I'm sorry to hear that, Andrew. You shouldn't. That is a boundary that I hope that you maintain. That you shouldn't be blamed for things that are not your fault. Absolutely, some things are beyond our control, and we can't help them. That is the case. So people blaming you for that is really bad. It's abusive. Sterling, yes, this is putting responsibility on these kids if there is discord in the family or if the marriage doesn't work out. Yes, 100% agree. Because dollars to donuts, I really suspect that if there's an argument or a disagreement, or if two of the kids start fighting, they're going to pull out that contract, right? I don't think it's just for setting aside and not using. I think they will use it, and that would be a huge mistake. Huge mistake. This putting some applicants, since parents aren't overly confident about blending their families. Yeah. And it sucks. It sucks having to live with somebody that you're not even sure about. But that's the way it is. That is the way it is. Unfortunately, Poster is moral. I agree. Poster is doing the right thing, and what's really sad is that they are the best person among them. And the 12-year-old. I mean, the 12-year-old knows there's something wrong with the contract. It's just the 8-year-old. But the 8-year-old, I mean, the Anne, they lost their mum not 4 years ago. So maybe Anne, I'm not sure when she lost her husband. But if it was 4 years ago, the kid probably wouldn't even remember the husband, kind of thing. So, yes, very good. Very, 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 very good. Did I do the thing? Yeah, everyone said it was moral. Yeah, cool. Don't look at that. That's an ad. I wish it wasn't there, but it is. Okay. They'll pull out the contract and fight. Yeah, and they will. Absolutely. And what you've got to remember, that fights and arguments are part of relationships. How you address the complex disagreements in relationships is important, but they're going to happen because people have differing opinions. People have these things that they fight over or disagree about and stuff like that. It will happen. It's the repairing of that relationship, saying, hey, I kind of overreacted on this, and I'm sorry for doing that. I still disagree with you, but I respect that you disagree. I respect it. That kind of thing. Repairing the relationship is what makes a relationship strong, because then that person can trust that you will respect their difference in opinion when they disagree with you. Not everything can be solved. That's why relationships end. But sort of letting them know that they can disagree with you without some kind of manipulative ramifications, or you punishing them in some way. That's what a good relationship is. My wife and I disagree about all kinds of things. I respect her. She uses an Apple computer. I think it's almost a war crime, but I respect her. And I disagree with her and she disagrees. That's fine. Not a problem at all. It is almost a war crime, though. Am I the asshole? Dog owner said, "You'll be all right" to me. I'm not sure that's your behavior. You'll be all right to me. How does that a moral thing on your behalf? You'll be all right. Is it the dog owner that's supposed to be the asshole? I don't get that at all, because that's not something you've done. That can't be a moral question. Or am I the asshole for letting someone saying "you'll be all right" to me? How is that possibly? I'm so confused. This is something I've never seen before on this. Usually it's, I said this to a dog owner, or I did this at this place. Does that make me the asshole? This is like somebody said this thing to me. Does that make me the asshole? What are you talking about? Of course not. What fun news? That's not fun. That's confusing. Okay, let's find out. At the moment, it doesn't seem even like a moral question at all. So I'm not sure what they're talking about. I was shopping at the Lowe's closest to me. The Lowe's, I think. Is that a clothing store over there? I don't know. I'm attempting a do-it-yourself plumbing repair. Oh, wait, is Lowe's a hardware store? Well, Lowe's in Australia is menswear. Yeah, I knew it was menswear. Yeah. Is it plumbing supplies? Is it hardware or something in the US? I'm attempting a do-it-yourself plumbing repair. I'm looking for some items I needed in a clothing store. What's wrong with you, sir? Yes, you are the asshole. You looking for plumbing supplies in a menswear store. Terrible. I'm assuming it's a hardware store in the US. I started out alone in the aisle and I was focusing on finding a part that I need. I didn't notice a yellow lab and owner enter the aisle. Yellow labs are usually very placid. The dog sniffed me and I jumped a mile high. I was spooked as fuck. All right. Well, yeah, that's jumpy. Some people don't like dogs, though. Some people, don't like dogs. I don't. Why, if you're in a store, you have to put up with a dog? Like some people, I turn to the owner and say, "What the hell?" He tells me, "Okay, so really, you're saying, am I the asshole for saying for going off?" I turn to the owner and say, "What the hell?" He says, "You'll be all right." I'm normally a very calm person, but that set me off. I told him that decision is not you to make. I went off on the guy. He has the audacity to tell me if I don't like dogs, don't go to Lowe's. No. He says, Lowe's is dog friendly, right? That means you're okay with dogs. The dog was just being a dog. Sniffing never harmed anybody. He ends up with, you're just being an arsehole. I tell the dude to F off. I got my shit, complained to staff, and left that was I the arsehole. Yeah. Yes, the dog touched me. My leg was wet. Okay. I blame the owner, quite frankly. Look, I don't expect everyone to be okay with dogs. People have had bad experiences with dogs. You can't just go, well, I have a dog, I like dogs. You have to like dogs and be okay with dogs as well. Some people don't like dogs. Some people have trauma associated with dogs. You can't just expect everyone to be okay with dogs. You can't. I get that you think that everyone ought to like dogs. That is not the case. Now, another thing, people are horrendously allergic to dogs. My wife is allergic to dogs. If a dog comes near her, she will be it's not as bad as cats, but if a dog comes near her, usually she will get a sniffle and be in a worse state for the rest of the day. Okay. It's important to understand this, that some people are way more allergic than that to dogs. Okay. That's not their fault. Okay. So as the owner, you should say, terribly sorry, I don't know why. And really, I want to know if the dog was on a leash, because that's important too. It's interesting to know. Okay, so it's like Bunnings. Okay, Bunnings dogs are allowed, yes, but I don't think they're allowed off a leash to wander wherever they want. The thing is that everybody thinks their dog is good until they're not. And even if they're not, some people still think their dog is good. And I get it. Your dog may be fantastic, but we don't make laws based upon your individual dog. We make laws based upon dogs in general. It doesn't matter that you've got a good dog. It should be on a leash. If someone says, hey, that upsets me, you should say, terribly sorry, I'll keep him away from you. It's not a problem. You do not have the right to force your dog's touch, your dog's presence, your dog's on somebody else because you think that people should like dogs. Right? You don't have the right to do that. So I don't think this guy was, he obviously doesn't like dogs. They obviously upset him. He was spooked by the dog. I think from the reading it, the dog put its nose on his yes, the dog touched me, my leg was wet. Yeah. So I think the dog put his nose on his leg and made him start. Like, so if he's got, like, people have phobias. If he's got a phobia of dogs, and I mean, just for note, I'll get the name of that. Was the poster for getting angry about. But we get this a lot. I mean, I was once walking across from the park, and there was a guy um, walking like this massive. I think it was like a bull terrier cross kind of thing, or a boxer cross. It's just a big freaking dog, and it was literally on its hind legs, straining at the leash towards me. Now, it wasn't being aggressive, right? It wasn't being aggressive, wasn't barking or snarling, but he was basically holding it by the leash with the collar, and it was on its hind legs trying to get towards me. Now, I don't think it was being nasty, but I'm like, control your dog, get some training, because holy crap, it was frightening. It was frightening. Like, this was a big dog straining to get to me while he's desperately trying to hold it back. Like, dude, if your dog can't listen to commands, you need to get it trained. Now, I don't blame the dog for that. I blame the owner. But I'm like, dude, like, seriously, what? And he's like, oh, it doesn't hurt anybody. It's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. No. I don't think it's fine. Like, your love of your dog cannot be foisted on everybody else. It's cynophobia is a fear of dogs. Okay, that's a real phobia. You don't have the right to make people like your dog. You don't. You don't. I get that if the dog came nowhere near him and he sort of said, you know, I don't like you having your dog in this store. You can say, well, it's not harming anybody. It's not hurting anybody. The store allows it. Sorry. But if the dog comes up and touches you, you sort of, if he goes, hey, I don't like your dog touching me, you should say, I'm terribly sorry. Is it on a leash? I want to know if this dog was on a leash, because if it's not on a leash, I really think it should be. Let's see if we can find out. What is the policy? Yeah, okay. So Lowe's pet policy, are they allowed? And I want to switch to this tab. Okay. Lowe's accommodated service animals. Well, I mean, service animals are a different story, and service animals are incredibly well trained. That's a bit of a different story. Lowe's allows you to bring your pets to the store as long as they are well behaved. You must have your pet in a cage, in your arms, or on a leash. The policy does not allow pets to be left unattended in the store or on the premises. Pet owners are responsible for their pets and any pets left alone. Please not bring your. No, I don't. No. Go away. Well behaved. You have to supervise it while you're there. Okay, so they do allow pets. Was it on a leash? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Was it on a leash? Was it on a leash? Where's my other thing? Yeah, share that instead. Okay. Sounds like you got starved by the dogs and the man. You'll be all right. Really set you off. That comp was annoying, but you really seem to go overboard. Unless there was more to this telling it. You're not telling it? Well, you're the arsehole. No, I disagree. I actually disagree. Unless the dog was no one's asking the right question. Was it abiding by Lowe's policy? You're the arsehole. Mildly inconsiderate, but your reaction was over the top. It may have been. You are an arsehole, but you'll be all right. Okay, so Reddit's basically saying, dog friendly does not mean it's okay for the dog owner not be complete control of their dog in public. At least in America, there's a legal standard that Lowe's expect of a dog owner. I worked there for a little while years ago, and this is what management told us. We have the right responsibility to have a customer remove their dog if their dog was disturbing other customers. Would I have asked a customer to remove the dog that just sniffs somebody? No. Would I have talked to a dog owner and let them know it is their responsibility to control their animal so it doesn't negatively impact their customers, though? Yes, I like this response. Very, very good. Yes. And it is against the paying attention to their fur babies and keeping them close. Maybe not dismissing the startle, someone else a bit rude, but dude, it's dog sniffing. Yeah, no, I get you. Well, and I mean, possibly he could have been allergic to dogs. It's that would not be an overreaction. It could absolutely ruin the rest of your day if that you're allergic to that dog. Get some anger management. Okay, Reddit. Yeah. That's what you reacted to, not the dog. Being startled physically feels like being angry. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Dr. Reddit. Yeah, I mean, it is possible that that contributed to the reaction. Absolutely, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but there's other reasons why people don't like dogs touching them, and I kind of think that they're just glossing over it and saying, "Well, if you don't like dogs, then you're the asshole." No, absolutely not. Like the amount of times that we've been to someone's place and the dog has come over and sort of, you know, for some reason it just knows that my wife is allergic. They just come and try to rub against her and stuff like that. And you know, we have to say, hey, like she's allergic to that dog. And some people just go, oh, it'll be okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Like it's bad enough of the fur that gets left around people's houses. That's bad enough. Like the least you can do is put your dog somewhere else so it doesn't get a lot worse. You know, ugh, you know, it's kind of like, and she's very, oh no, I'll just put up with it. It's like, no, you don't have to put up with an allergic reaction because somebody thinks that you should like their dog cuddling up to you. Oh, but they like you. It doesn't matter. It, it doesn't matter. Um, yeah, Bunnings. Yeah, I want to know if it was on a leash. Going off on the guy, that was a bit too much, but the dog owner reacted to the situation. Each are in the wrong here for their own parts. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. I think that would the intended outcome of him reacting like that, would that be for the owner to apologize, or would that be for the well-being of everybody? You're right, Andrew. It wouldn't be. If you say, you know, go off on somebody, they're not going to see your point of view and agree with you. They're probably going to double down on their current position. So you're probably right. I think you're right, actually. You've changed my mind. I think that everybody is the arsehole here. I think that everybody's morally bankrupt because if your intention is for that owner to understand the discomfort your dog is causing them, going off on them isn't. We can't reasonably expect that to be the case. Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, yes, yeah, yeah. The poster was morally bankrupt, but I don't think that excuses. I think that the person with the dog was morally bankrupt as well, because does letting your dog go around sniffing whoever mean that you're going to have a society or a general thing of, you know, well-being? No, because if it goes up to somebody with a dog phobia or a allergy, it can be bad. I think controlling your dog would accomplish that much better. So I think everybody's immoral. You've changed my mind. Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Yep, 100%. You're responsible for the dog actions, just like the parent is responsible for their child. Okay, let me tell you the worst I have ever seen. We went to a farmer's market kind of thing, and we bought a whole bunch of vegetables and stuff. I like farmers markets. I really do. Like the produce is always so good and fresh. I just like farmers markets. Okay, I'm old and you know, just like markets in general. Anyway, we get the produce, and we have like I think it was a lettuce, you know, just a iceberg lettuce. It's just a variety of lettuce kind of thing. This child is sitting there with their dad, and the child licks the lettuce. I'm not even joking. Just licks the lettuce, and we're like, dude, and he watched, and we're like, dude, could your child not lick our produce? And he goes, who cares? And we're like, holy crap, That just happened. A child just licked our lettuce, and the dad's like, yeah, 100% support that. Weirdest thing ever. I just went, great parenting, mate. Yeah, fantastic. That's weird. Just lick whatever. I mean, at that point, I was kind of like, not only do you not know, I mean, we're going to wash the lettuce, but it's the whole thing of, why are you licking our food? It's weird. And secondly, you don't know where that lettuce has been. It just came out of a farmer's market. Like, it could have anything on it at this point. Like, seriously, what are you doing? It could have dung on it. It's so weird. Like, so weird. If my dog was to spook somebody, I would apologize straight away. It's my dog and my responsibility to have a... Yeah, Tardy, I agree. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. Sure, absolutely. I don't think it's in question that well, I mean, it is questionable that the dog owner is sort of, not the arsehole, bad response from owner, which created the situation for the OP, which was maybe an overreaction. Yeah, I think the owner of the dog is being worse than the poster, but I still think the poster could have gone about things differently to get him to understand the situation rather than going off on him. I think that's going to lead to an argument and doubling down on the dog being able to do whatever. Same as my son got a little frisk with ladies. I apologize, looked to remove him, but luckily most of the ladies thought it was cute. Starting young, hey, starting young, Andrew. But yes, you do have to pull up that kind of behavior and say, hey, we don't do this. This isn't what we should be doing. Sterling Nash, my sister was bitten by a big stray dog when she's 6. Ouch, yeah, rabies shots in her abdomen for 14 days. She has aversion to dogs, which is totally fair. Understandable, Sterling. I got you, mate. Beyond the rules, I feel it's a person's duty to keep their children, animals, possessions, mannerisms, etc., from bothering other people as a matter of polite society. Don't be somebody else's problem. Within limits, I think there are some limits. Like somebody that has Tourette's, I really feel for them because they may disturb others, not want to, and be unable to not disturb others, kind of thing. So mannerisms, yes, I think that there's a line to be drawn about, some kind of behavior that does. I think that things out of your control, you might, be unable to. I think anything that you can control, yes, I agree with. The poster could be on the spectrum. Absolutely could be on the spectrum. Yes. And the things that people on the spectrum do find disagreeable can vary. However, I will make I will say that if somebody is uncomfortable in certain situations that are kind of unavoidable, being on the spectrum, I don't like lots of noise of people, kind of thing. I feel like when I go to a concert or, a crowd, there's just a wall of noise that just makes me go, oh, I can't deal with this. It's sensory overload. I feel, that I'm not going to expect anybody else to change for that, because they're just doing what they do. But I understand what you mean, Cuddly. I really do, mate. I've had people tell me it's hypoallergenic, so it's fine. Meanwhile, I've been hard breathing due to yeah, I've heard that as well. I've also had people say it's hypoallergenic, but I'll move it just to be safe. Yes, correct. The latter scenario, I've not made it known my allergic. Okay. Yep, and that's a fair point. That's a very fair point. He has game. I don't know where he got it from. Totally not from me. Liar. And Robin Webster's here. Hello, Robin. Good to see you. Good to see you at the milk plant. Okay, beautiful. The milk plant, giggity. Okay, look, others are involved somewhere. I don't know if it's Robin's. Okay, just settle down. Settle down. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm so sorry, Robin. I really am. Let's see. The vote comes in. Poster is moral or amoral. Okay. No worries. No worries at all. Yeah, no, I kind of, to be honest with you, Andrew kind of changed my mind. I think Andrew changed my mind. I think he's got a valid point. Going off on somebody isn't going to get you to the outcome that you want. I really agree. I'm there. I'm 100% there. I think the owner is way worse than the poster, though. Okay. Two to one and pick 'em. 2-1 and pick 'em. I don't know why that was so hard for me to process. That was insane. I feel like my brain has just done a backflip trying to process that name. Am I the asshole for refusing to cook Thanksgiving dinner when no one else cooks? No, I don't think so. What? Why would you? Why would you just go? Yeah, I don't feel like it. I do it every year. Don't feel like it anymore. Someone else can cook, or you can just order something. I don't care. Okay, this is weird. I don't see why that's a problem at all. You're setting a boundary. You don't feel like it. Here's the tip. You don't have to justify your feelings to anybody. I mean, it's nice that they know, because that way they can understand where you're coming from, but you don't have to. It's not a compulsory thing. If you feel the way you feel, you don't have to justify that to anybody. If you want them to understand why you feel that way, it's very, very useful. But you're not obliged. You're not obliged. Every year for at least a decade or so, my mother has hosted a Thanksgiving dinner at the house. Oh, and if you don't explain it to people, don't be surprised if people go, well, I don't understand why you feel that way. You'll get that. You know, if your response is, that's okay, you don't have to understand why I feel that way. That's fine. Not a problem. If you're saying, I don't understand why you don't understand why I feel that way, then, you know, you might look at that you're not telling people why you feel that way. So, yeah. Oh, Robin, 12, but you've been with me for a year? Insanity. The insanity of it all. No, you're awesome, Robin. Love to have you round. A year is incredible. I can't believe this has been a year. It's crazy and madness and all of those things. Happy birthday. Whoop. Happy day after your birthday, Mark. Well, actually, it's a few days. My birthday was on the 13th, which I think was a few days ago. But I did my birthday stream yesterday because I didn't want to interrupt anybody else's stream. And that was kind of like a free day for all of my friends. You know, Bad Science Sunday was the day before. And, you know, we have on my actual birthday, we have, you know, the debate dissection over at M. So I really didn't want to sort of, you know, interrupt anybody else's stream. So I just sort of put it on the back. Look, it's just an arbitrary day. Let's face it. It doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, it was fun. Oh, and you gifted one. Oh, the sniper is back in the house. Let's see who you sniped. Evil Toe was gifted a readership. Congratulations, Evil Toe. And do enjoy your stuff and things if I can find them, which I can't, which is terrible. There they are. Hello. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 12 months. Oh, hello, Majestic Bear. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm sorry we lost you in the thing what's it the other day, the stream the other day. That was actually a lot of fun. I really did enjoy that. And I got to put up your channel link on that thing, so I don't want to forget that. I'm gonna pop it in another tab so I don't forget to link you on the channel, because you did come onto the panel. Every year for at least a decade or so, my mother has hosted Thanksgiving dinner at her house. This is for our relatively small extended family, usually 10 people max, who I all know very well. My mum does not cook beyond like mac and cheese or throwing an unseasoned chicken thigh in the oven. I love to cook and usually really enjoy cooking for family. So whenever she hosts Thanksgiving, I'm the one who cooks everything. I do not live with her, nor am I financially supported by her. She does usually pay for the ingredients for Thanksgiving. Last year, at the minute she invited her friend's ex-husband, their 2 teenage kids, to join us for the holiday. They were loud and rude and generally turned a holiday I love into a chore. I was so exhausted and overwhelmed by the end of the day. Okay, well, that's fair. That's 100% fair. This year, I told her I would not be doing any cooking if anyone besides family was invited, as I find it stressful and I don't get the usual enjoyment out of the day. Today she told me that a different friend, who she knows I find exhausting anyway, is joining us for Thanksgiving. I asked her who she got to agree to do the cooking. She looked at me like I was crazy and said, I always do. So, well, why would she need someone else? I told her that I meant what I said before and I won't be cooking. She is furious with me and saying that I'm ruining Thanksgiving and that her friend has nowhere else to celebrate the holiday. I just truly don't have the energy this year, and cooking with my loved ones around energizes me, while last year I felt like staff without the financial benefit. Edit. I have always had a lot of anxiety around disappointing people, and it relates to why I'm so burnt out this year. So I really appreciate many of you telling me that I'm not single-handedly ruining Thanksgiving. I spoke to my mum, and it sounds like she didn't take me seriously because she's such a more the merrier person. I assumed I was making a joke due to how rude our extras were last year. Oh, a joke due to how rude. Like she thought I was joking about how rude they were. We have talked about it, and she's going to consider doing a pre-made meal or a potluck, but I'll probably be giving it a miss this year and get some rest, rediscover my love for the holiday. Also, for those who are worried about doing all the work all the time, generally when I'm just talking shit and listening to dumb music with family, cooking has always been a blast for me, and I'm never expected to clean so much as one plate, barring the clean you can go that I cannot and don't think I should resist. Oh, so clean your plate. Okay, got you. So she's making a joke. My mum has always had a habit of getting defensive and lashing out, which she is actively working on. I'm not just excusing it. So her initial intense anger was not uncharacteristic, but she has since calmed down. Okay, so Thanksgiving seems like another moral minefield that we've got to contend with. Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think she's totally fine. I think she's totally fine. As a compromise, maybe you could say, hey, if you find somebody to help me in the cooking, that find some helpers, find some staff kind of thing, so she can delegate. That would be fine, maybe. But I don't think she's bad for that. Basically saying, hey, if it's not for the family, I don't want to cook. That's a boundary she should, like. What we've got to be careful of is rescuing, right? And that's not supporting, right? Supporting is helping people. Rescuing is helping people to your severe detriment, right? Like sacrificing yourself in order to help others. It's a problem, and it will lead to you not having the strength or energy to actually help anybody. Is the poster moral for refusing to cook? Right. So if she thinks she's going to be worn out and sort of, in a bad state for cooking for strangers on Thanksgiving, if that's the reasonable outcome to that, I think that, yeah, she should not cook and put herself in that state. It sounds like she's quite a humorous person. It sounds like she's quite happy. If she's making herself miserable to help other people, that's going to be horrible for her. That's going to be horrible for her. I don't understand why you would do that. Like, what's wrong with a potluck or a somebody else cooking? I don't understand. Look, even she could be 1 year. Look, I just don't feel like it this year. Totally cool. Totally cool. Absolutely fine. I don't. It's really weird. For some context, is this the Canadian Thanksgiving or American Thanksgiving? It's probably Canadian, right? I know from my amazing friend Jess that it was just Canadian Thanksgiving. Like just the other day, on my birthday, I think it was October the 13th or something, or 14th over there. Or 12th over there, maybe. I don't know. Not the asshole. In my opinion, you do love something doesn't mean you're expected to do it. Correct. Assuming American Thanksgiving, plenty of time people. Yeah, I mean, Canadian Thanksgiving is probably the same. They probably knew when it was in advance. Maybe you could ask everyone to cook an item. Yeah, that's potluck. He's basically describing a potluck. Yeah, no, totally. Do a potluck. Everyone cooks something and brings it. It's fine. This is for American Thanksgiving. Okay. All right. Well, I was wrong. Not the answer. All the restaurants and grocery stores in my area offer prepaid Thanksgiving dinners with some sides, and all your mother has to do is place an order, pick it up, and reheat it. Preparing Thanksgiving is a lot of work, so I appreciate your reluctance to do it. Yeah, totally. I don't know why this would be even a question. Exactly what I can make the grocery store. It's so much easier. Yeah, fair enough. I don't look, it's just where I live, but we don't do turkey. Like seriously, I don't know. this obsession with turkey. I get that it's like your sort of country's animal kind of thing, but it's not like we cook emu on Australia Day. Like, what's going on over there? It's really weird. Um, I don't know. It's strange to me. But then again, I know somebody that lives in America that had turkeys just roam around his yard like wild turkeys kind of thing, and it's like, wow, that is wild. That is so wild. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine like emus just coming in and wandering around my yard. That's crazy, crazy. Mind you, come to think of it, like I was at a place up sort of in Perth, in north of Perth, called Joondalup, and there was kangaroos hanging out on an oval. So there is that, I guess. But we don't eat them. Like, we don't shoot. Well, we do eat roo upon occasion, but we don't like, you know do it for we don't have kangaroo day and eat. Like, I don't understand why you have like turkey day and it's weird. All right, you people are weird. I'm judging you now, chat. I'm judging you. No, it's fine. It's fine. Not the arsehole. If she can't cook, she shouldn't be hosting or Thanksgiving or any holiday unless she professional services in place. Who is this? What silver spoon did you spit out? Professional services in place for Thanksgiving? Is this a thing? What? What, you had butlers and maids standing around? I'm not sure what they're referring to there. Professional services. Whole Foods makes acceptable holiday dinner. I get it. My immediate family introverted. Not the cat, though. He a ho. I just love that comment. I get it. My whole immediate family's introverted. Me, husband, and 2 adult kids. Not the cat, though. He a ho. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The frigging extroverted cat. We're all fine with the entire day. Yeah. If they all started inviting random friends, I might make other plans as well. Yeah, and just because you have friends doesn't mean that your entire family has to accept them on the spot. What? So we're seeing a current trend here. The whole idea that, hey, I have somebody I like, you have to accept them in exactly the same way that I like them. Right? We see it with the dad expecting his child to accept the mother in exactly the same way. We see it with this person expecting her to cook the same way she does with a family. We see this thing of, I like this person, you have to like them too. And that is not a thing, right? The first thing you have to get through your head is, just because you like somebody doesn't mean other people are going to like them. Now, it might be a case of, well, I don't know why you don't like them. It's fine. I get you. But, you can't put expectations on people like that. It's very, very strange. I don't know why. I mean, I've had disagreements with other people in the YouTube sphere, and we've had sort of friends in common kind of thing. And I've said, hey, I don't like this person, but I don't make your relationship with them. I don't expect you to treat them any differently within your relationship. Like, why would I put what I like and dislike onto another person? I don't understand this. It's very strange to me. Okay, what's chat got to say? What have you got to say, chat? What have you got to say for yourself? Okay. If your efforts are not appreciated, don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people, I mean, appreciation is nice. Sometimes you don't need appreciation. Sometimes you do it for the act of doing it itself. It sounds like that's what she does. She just enjoys to cook because she enjoys hanging out with her family and cooking. And that's fine. But, yeah, I think that any reason, if you want some appreciation for what you do and you're not getting it, then don't feel like you have to. If that is something that is necessary for you. I get what you're saying, Left-Handed Jedi, but sometimes your actions don't need to be appreciated. That's okay. Reed, maybe she wouldn't find the company so grating if she wasn't overworked and underappreciated. Holidays are better when they're relatively effortless. Yeah, that's true. I mean, she may feel underappreciated. She didn't really say there. I don't think she really said. I think she more sort of intimated that she just likes to hang out with her family and cook kind of thing. But sort of out, people that she's not comfortable with kind of ruins that feeling. I think that's totally fair. Is that appreciation? Maybe it is a form of appreciation. Maybe it's like, well, we'll hang out with you. You could be right. I'm not sure about that one. I usually sacrifice myself on Turkey Day, and the glutton ate the last button. Okay. You sacrifice. Okay. You have 5 gallons of turkey soup. Damn. That's a lot of turkey soup. Ostrich? What are you talking about? Ostrich. Roo? Yes, we do eat kangaroo upon occasion. Actually, kangaroo sausages are really nice. They're actually really nice. Kangaroo also has a massive amount of protein. It's very protein dense. Though just without being like sort of in some way treated or crushed or whatever, or ground up, the kangaroo's very, very tough meat. So I don't like it that much. It has to be cooked right, like either cooked for a long time, in some kind of slow cooked, or in some way ground up, because it's very tough meat. Emu's good. Yeah, yeah. What? No, gobble gobble. They are so yummy. I've had turkey before. It's nice. Like, don't get me wrong. I've got no problem with it. No problem at all. Absolutely. I gotcha. But it's not like we have a day for it and a holiday that revolves around it. We have turkeys in Australia. We keep them in Canberra and vote for them. Yes. Indeed. That's hilarious. That's hilarious, Ralph. I love it. That's actually hilarious. My brother-in-law had turkeys. Okay. They're huge. I was surprised. Like, a friend showed me a photo of them, like, standing near the turkey. I'm like, they're massive. Like, I thought they were like just slightly bigger than chickens. They're not. They're a lot bigger than chickens. You may not cook them, but that's because you lost the Emu War of 90. We don't talk about that, Deviant. And that was a draw, okay? We lost nothing. That was 100% a draw. He had a few guineas, turkeys, chickens, duck. He could make a turducken. Your friend could make a turducken. That's insane. We don't eat kiwi in New Zealand. How could you? Like, seriously, the thing is tiny and also endangered, I believe. Poor kiwis. Do you know they lay an egg that's almost as big as their body? I saw the diagram of it. It's absolutely horrifying what a kiwi has to go through. I wouldn't hunt kiwi. I just feel sorry for them. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. Let me show you the poor kiwi and what they have to put up with. Like, seriously. Yeah, here we go. This is a kiwi skeleton with an egg inside of it. Look at that. That's horrifying. Don't hunt those things. They got enough problems already. Don't eat them. They've got problems, all right? Wow. That's horrifying. Imagine if humans had to go through that. That would be horrifying. The egg's almost as big as the damn bird. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. You love eating wild game, lost the heart to kill them for food. Yeah. No, totally. I'm on board with you. I believe it's the Aussies, the only country that eat their national animals. That is true. Ruin emu, both on our coat of arms, we both eat them. But in fairness, they're both like, the populations are out of control and getting bigger. So, I don't feel too bad. That's worse than Hume-Sayed. Yeah. Poor kiwi. Don't eat them. They've got bigger problems, and their bigger problems are laying eggs, quite frankly. Like, don't eat them. It absolutely outrageous Outrageous. That's horrible. Poster is moral. We have another winner for poster is moral. Well, everybody's kind of not an arsehole on Reddit today. I mean, not the Redditors. Redditors are always assholes, but I mean the posters are not assholes on Reddit today, which is the thing. I'll do one more, just for the fun of it. I hope you're having fun. I'm having a blast. So yeah, I hope you're having fun with me. This has been awesome. Mostly because we haven't had that, oh, you know, I shoved my sister's head down a toilet. Am I the asshole? And it's like, yes. You know, usually we get one of those, you know, like, oh, I told somebody that their father had died for a joke. Am I the asshole? And it's like, how can you eat? I don't understand, like, how somebody can do some of the things and then ask, was I in the wrong? You think? What made you suspect that? But these are all good. They're all like, yeah, I had this response, don't really know. And it's like, yeah. Visible document 225. Well, I'm glad it's visible. I'd hate to see what an invisible document looks like. Am I the arsehole for needing more time to sort out how I feel about the babysitter erasing a love note from my late husband? More time to sort out. Why did the babysitter erase a love note from your late husband? That sounds like a horrible thing to happen. What? Are you saying that you need to work out whether you'll be upset? I don't know why that would be the case. Why is that the case? All right, Tardy, take care, mate. It was really fun having you around. Liked your opinions. My late husband would be 44 male, and I, 43 female, used to leave each other notes in dry erase marker on the mirror and on the counter by the coffee maker. Oh, that seems like a recipe for disaster if you want it kept. When he passed away 3 years ago, I put tape over his notes to preserve them, seemingly forever. I'm uncertain whether that's healthy or not, to be honest with you. I guess it seems kind of a bit weird to me. I get that they may be grieving, but 3 years ago to be keeping the written notes of your husband in dry erase marker on mirror and counter by the coffee table, I'm not sure about that one. Seemingly forever. I'm not going to judge anybody for doing that. I understand that's important to you, but at the same time, I wonder if it's healthy to hold on to that. At some point you've got to move on with your life. Is it going to be there with a new husband or a new partner or a new boyfriend or something? Or are you just going to be single for the rest of your life or not, love anybody else for the rest of your life? I'm not sure if that's healthy either. I'm not saying what she's doing is wrong. I'm just not sure if it is healthy. Having 3 children, I hired a babysitter to help out. She's been with us for a year, and one of the first things I pointed out was the notes. The other day, she removed the tape and wiped away the notes, saying she wasn't thinking and was just trying to help clean up what she thought was something the kids did. It said, "Forever, my girl." Rather than being upset, but also open to the idea that it has been 3 years, maybe it's time to remove the notes. I told her I needed space to figure things out. I'm leaning towards asking her not to come back because I can't get over it. It seems intentional on some level, but that may just be my hurt talking. Even if it's a lapse in judgment, I wanted to be the one to take it off when ready. It's been 2 days and I'm still not ready to have her back, yet she keeps asking if she can work. Am I the arsehole for wanting to say no or wanting to say I can't move past this? Thanks, y'all. No, I don't think so. I think that you told her about it and she removed it. Even if it wasn't intentional, it was a horrendous mistake that affected somebody a lot. So I wouldn't assume that the babysitter did it intentionally. It wasn't her intention to do so. But I think that if you told her, like she'd been with you a year and she pointed out the notes, obviously you haven't cleaned them up in the meantime, right? Like you haven't cleaned them up all throughout that year, right? And then that time you do, um, it 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 may or may not been a mistake, but it is a horrendous mistake, especially because she hadn't cleaned them up for a year. Does that mean she just hasn't been doing her job for a year? That, I I find it hard to think someone's been working there a year and just had a lapse of judgment to say, hey, oh, the kids must have done that when they've been there for a year. You know what I mean? Like, that seems unlikely to me. It seems improbable. However, having said that, I cannot say it is actually the case. But I don't think someone's an arsehole for saying no or saying that they can't move past this. But at the same time, I would recommend that you see somebody to see if you can move past it. And you wanting to be the one to remove the notes, I get that. I get it. I get it. I don't think it's right. If she did it to sort of force you to accept that they're gone, that's a horrible thing to do. But I don't think the poster's an arsehole for sort of not wanting her to come back. I don't think that's the case. If she is hurt over what the poster has done, would the reasonable intention be to protect herself and create boundaries? Then yes, yeah. I think that, if she's got that boundary, and she's pointed out that boundary, the person's violated that boundary, and she doesn't feel like she can accept the violation of that boundary, then I think it's completely reasonable to make another boundary that person isn't in your life. I think that is reasonable, and finding another person. I as I get it's unfortunate. I get that it sucks that the babysitter isn't getting work because of what may have been a mistake, but I think the poster's got to protect her boundaries. Like, I'm really sorry, that is the case. It sucks, but even if she made a mistake, it is a huge mistake, and she wanted to be the one to clear it off. That's fair enough. It's been 3 years. It's a long time. There's no time limit on grieving. However, if you are holding on to things like that, maybe see a grief counselor or a psychologist about about moving on if you think it's a problem. The poster moral to let's say distance the babysitter. Let's say distance, because she said she hasn't fired them. She just wants time to process and can't move past it. And that might be at the moment. I think she should maybe get counseling. But I think if it's her boundary, I think that's fair enough. I think that she's not the answer. I get why she's asking that, though. She obviously feels like she's giving herself should statements. She feels like she should not be so upset that the things are being cleared off. So she knows deep down that I don't like should statements. I think I tend towards preferences. Like, I would prefer not to be upset at this small thing of having a love note wiped away, right? So I think that deep down she would prefer it not to get to her, and I think that's where you need to see someone professional and really address why you're so upset at that happening. Because it sounds like, to me at least, and I could be completely wrong about that she feels like she shouldn't be upset about this, that it is something small and she needs to move on, or she would like to move on. It sounds like she doesn't want to be upset that something small like this happened, and I totally understand. A lot of people are grieving and they want to move on, but they can't. Right. That's what you see a lot in these cases. And number one, there's no time limit on grief. Okay, it takes you how long it takes you, and there is no right and wrong way to grieve. I hate it when people are like, "Well, move on," just better discussed by. I don't know why you would say that, Exo Music. I don't know why you would say that. I have no idea. You just come in and sort of say, hey, you shouldn't be discussing morals. Morals are what we ought to and ought not to do. It is a code of conduct that would be accepted by most rational people in any given situation. So I don't know why we as secular people wouldn't discuss what we ought to or ought not to do. Like, if you agree that chopping off someone's head is not what you ought to do, then you're discussing morals. So I don't understand. You know, the whole point of saying, hey, you ought not to be discussing morals, you should leave it to the Christians for that. That's a moral statement. You do realize that, don't you? That saying, hey, that's a silly subject, you ought not to discuss it, you better leave it. That's a moral statement. So you're basically saying, hey, you shouldn't discuss morals by making a moral statement. So this is why I don't understand, because you're coming in here making moral statements, demanding we don't talk about morals. Then why are you talking about it? Nobody knows. Yeah, but I think this is totally fine. Did I do the poll? Did I do the poll? Am I a pole dancer? I am a pole dancer. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, no, I agree. Jainism is incredibly morally stringent. Yeah, no, Reed, I'm right there along with you, mate. Absolutely. Jainism. Whew, wouldn't harm a fly. Literally, like Jainism. Wow. She's worked for 1 whole year. The notes were shown to explain from the get-go, but one day she thought of one of the children, wrote "My forever girl" to you, not buying it. Yeah, I find it hard to believe as well. I do find it hard to believe. She's probably one of those people that think grief has an appropriate timeline. Yes, I generally do not subscribe to, or I don't associate myself with people like that. I don't associate with people like that. People that say, hey, grief, it's been 2 years, you should be over it. No, just get out of here. I don't like people like that. I don't want to associate with people like that. The grief of somebody is not up to you to decide. It is not. And trying to force people through it is not healthy. It is not. People have to go through it by themselves with some support, but you can't just, Oh, I didn't say you're telling us what to do. I'm saying you're saying what we ought to do. It's an ought. That's morality. This was not her place in any form or fashion. It's pretty outrageous. Yeah, no, I agree. Even had it been an accident, yourself deeply upset and you're lying on to a plea. So I agree in principle. Not sure I agree with this one. So yeah, nah, I kind of disagree with the just forgot. I wouldn't make that statement. People can make really grievous errors without thinking. It can happen. Like, brain off, do something. It can happen. I'm not buying the autopilot excuses at all. Well, yeah, I'd agree with this. I'd fire her, obviously. Yeah, I kind of think that you should let her go. But I think sort of framing it better than "you're fired" is probably a good idea. Don't be Trump in any situation. She's with me. Yeah, she was told about notes for her own reasons. She knowingly removed the tape. She knew it wasn't the kids. Yeah, huge invasion of privacy. Yeah, no, I don't think. So I lost my boyfriend in 2019. He was 36 then. I was 35. A year later, a friend threw the peace lily from his funeral in the garbage. Needs to say I never spoke to this person again because I knew it was intentional. Find a new babysitter, but if you can't, at least make this one sweat a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure about making it sweat, but I think that those boundaries need to be. Reddit's always very, very harsh kind of thing, but I do like that they are sort of saying, hey, it's a big breach of trust. Yeah, your grief sounds like it's difficult. Sorry you're struggling with it. Yeah, I think that professional help on grief and loss would probably be a good idea. Yeah, so Extra Music, I'm not saying that you're ordering us to do anything. I'm just saying this comment where you're saying better discussed by Christians, reframing it. this ought to be discussed by Christians. That's a moral statement. It's an ought. It is an ought. 100% is. So, you know, it's kind of weird because that's a moral statement. Because one option is better than the other, right? That this thing of what you know, it ought to be discussed by Christians. It's the same thing. It's better, a better scenario where this happened. Well, first you'll have to define better for who. Like, what is your moral standards that you're going by for a start? Why is it better? A better for what? For who? To achieve what? Since I'm a moral anti-realist, I don't think that we can say it's better objectively. I think that all we can do is say it's better in virtue of some sort of goal. So is it better for human well-being? Because I don't think that's the case. Is it better for Christians that only they can discuss morals? Yeah, probably. But I don't base my morals on what is better for Christians. Because if Christians have a monopoly over what people ought to or ought not to do, which is morality, that is literally morality, then they will dictate what happens and what does not happen in society, or at least what ought to happen and not happen in society. And I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think that's the case. I think that everybody should have a say in what ought to happen and ought to not happen in society, which, if you get down to it, is ethics. So I don't think we should be giving ethical considerations to, no, they don't. No, they don't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Morals do not. No. Christians don't have a monopoly on morals. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Islamic people have a moral standard. Secular humanism has a moral standard. If at any time you say this ought to happen or this ought not to happen, you are talking about morals. Okay, this is a fundamental misunderstanding. And it's one perpetrated by Christians to say nobody else can talk about morals, what ought to happen and ought not to happen except for us, because we're the only ones with a real moral standard, because ours is objective. No, you have drunk the Kool-Aid and you're buying the Christian propaganda that morals are only a religious thing. Not true. Absolutely not true. Yeah, and it's not just a religion thing. Absolutely not. If I say, hey, we ought to educate children, it is good for them. We ought to, provide critical thinking to children. That is a moral statement. Why should I say, well, we ought to teach kids about evolution? That is a moral statement. Why I should leave that for religion to decide is totally beyond me, and say, well, I don't have any kind of, business saying what we ought to teach children. I don't know why, ExoMusic, you've bought this Kool-Aid of no one gets a moral say but religious people. It's insane. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. ExoMusic, ethics is morals. Ethics is morals over a large population, right? So individuals in that workplace will make moral decisions. The expected system of morals that are in the workplace is the workplace ethics, right? And your moral decisions are applicable to the ethical standards of that workplace. So you're still talking morals. And a situation like this where somebody says, hey, did I do wrong by isolating the babysitter? It's got nothing to do with the law, and it's got nothing to do with workplace ethics. Am I moral for returning a dress that somebody else paid? Am I moral for re-gifting this book that I didn't particularly like? That's not a legal thing, and it's not a workplace ethical thing. It's a moral thing. I don't understand. But yeah, you're not hijacking the stream, so yeah. Well, I went through that. Let's see what people have to say about it. Yeah, I in no other way can I explain to you that you are 100% wrong, that morals are the purview of religion. I cannot even begin to explain how wrong you are. And yeah, I agree. Why would it be better discussed by Christians? Morality affects everybody. It absolutely does. Yes. And ethical considerations affect everybody. Absolutely. Now, our society's ethics is only it is only made up of what people agree upon where morals are concerned. That's why we have this sort of, a system in which the morals of the day used to be predominantly, almost exclusively Christian morals. To go back far enough, it was a moral transgression to be a witch, right? A moral transgression of that society could get you into a lot of trouble. Now it's like, you're a witch, cool, that's fine, not a problem. Nothing immoral about it, unless you're a Christian and think it's immoral, but not by society standards. The morality that we decide upon, everybody will dictate the ethical standards of that society. There is no way around it. So I will not bow out of moral discussions and leave it up to religious people to decide what should be the ethical standards or moral standards of any society. I was 40s, 50s when I heard that some people think morality has something to do with Christianity, and I went to an Anglican school. Yeah, it's weird. It's only sort of fundamentalists that think that way, but it's something that they've propagated a whole load, Ralph. They've come, and the Christians and the apologists have sort of said, well, if your morality isn't moral realism, i.e. objective morality, then it doesn't exist and it's not a thing and you don't have a right to it. There's no real except for ours, so we're the only ones that can talk about it. And they've been going on about this so long that even people in the atheist movement have started to believe it. And that's wild. That's wild. Like, it's just so wild. Christians steal morality from society. Well, I think... Yeah, I think what happens is, and Cuddly, you're probably not that wrong. I don't think they steal morality. I think that they are very conservative with their morals. So they think that the morals in their book and the morals that they've always been using are always going to be correct. So they resist when society moves on and we sort of discover better ways of doing things, better ways of what we ought to do, they lag behind. They have trouble catching up. So I don't think they steal morality from society. I think that society expects them to update their morality with what we know about the modern world, and they resist. The Catholic Church had to be dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. They're sort of, they're excommunicating people, and their treatment of gay people and their treatment of all this other stuff. They ought to ban gay people, and they ought to, treat women as a second thing. All of their morals were terrible, and they realized, hey, society is not going to accept us if we transgress the morals that are currently there. So instead of sticking by their morals and becoming irrelevant as a moral voice in the community, they updated their morals to reflect. Is that stealing morality? Kind of. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but that's how societies should work. Society at large should find the best way of doing things, and then everyone follows suit, kind of thing. I don't think that's a thing. Yes, morals fall with anyone's world. Yes, everybody's got moral standards. Everybody's got things that they say ought to and ought not to happen. I don't know anybody that sort of doesn't. Maybe moral nihilists. Nihilists sort of saying, well, nothing matters, but nihilists are a bit weird and depressed and not, they really don't have anything constructive to say in the question. Christians are the most immoral because they can't know right and wrong. They need a fairy tale to tell them how to think. Yeah, and that's a good point, Andrew. Is it moral if you're just being told it? If you're not making a decision over what you ought to do? It is morality because they still think they ought to follow God, right? So what we're talking about is meta-ethics here. Meta-ethics is sort of one layer up from morality, instead of like, you know, what you ought to do. It's kind of why you follow that moral system in the first place, right? So a secular humanist might be, well, I follow my moral system because I want a fair and just world, or I want flourishing of human civilization, or I want these things. Christians say it because we have to follow what God says, right? But then the question comes, is it really moral if you're doing it under compulsion? If you're doing it under threat, is it a moral decision? You know, if you don't want to treat that person well and someone puts a gun to your head or threatens to torture you forever if you don't treat that person well, are you really being moral? Is compelled morality moral? And that's a really good question. I like it, Andrew. I really do. And the fairy tales of horror. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Why should morality be decided by an imaginary beings? Well, it's interesting how often that imaginary being's opinion on morality meshes up with their own moral intuitions and opinion on morality, whatever that may be. You know, it's kind of interesting the way that being agrees with them all the time because their book said it was right. Ethics is something agreed upon concept and necessarily deemed good or bad. It's correct, but morality is good and bad depending on how it, in virtue of those ethics. I did not misinterpret it, and I absolutely read it. Absolutely. Name a moral rule that you hold that isn't covered by a law. Be nice to people. Be nice to people. Treat people with respect. You don't have to do that by law. You can be a complete ass to everybody, and law won't have anything to say about it. ExoMusic won't have anything to say about it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Being kind to others. Yep, exactly the one I went to. Thanks, Andrew. Yep. Helping strangers. Yep. Holding people or holding open doors of people. Yeah. Standing up for women when guys won't leave them alone. Yeah. Saving people from a burning car. Yeah. Even helping out when somebody's broken down. There's no law saying you have to do that. Aren't going to engage with others at all. Yeah, but we're talking about what ought to happen. Should you ought to be kind to people? Yes, it will help. Yeah, I think you just don't understand what morality is, ExoMusic. You've bought the Christian Kool-Aid. I'm really sorry you have. I'm really sorry you have. Religions generally don't want morality to be followed. They want their authority to be followed. We can see this especially with the Catholic Church hiding and contradicting the Bible on purpose. Yeah, it's incredible how much they contradict it. Actually, Matt Delahunty did an excellent sort of observation that was like, well, if you go by the Bible, the Westboro Baptist Church is actually doing what it says, is to, you know, they want to stone gay people. They're actually doing what it says, which is horrific, but they're the ones following what it actually says, you know. And some people have different interpretations of that. Yeah. The Bible has Iron Age morals. It does, yeah, because it was written in the Iron Age. You know, that's the easy reason. I agree with that. Yes. Yeah, so that's where we separate things into moral necessities and moral sort of, which are moral obligations, and sort of what are they called? Moral necessities and moral virtues, right? So if you give your money to the poor, right, it makes you a moral person. It makes, you know, that's what you ought to do if you can, and that makes you a moral person, more moral than somebody else. But it's not a moral necessity, which means that if you don't give your money to the poor, it doesn't make you a moral automatically. And we separate them into this. But if you do, say, for instance, you know, let's say, call somebody a fat ass or something on the street, right? You know, that makes you immoral by necessity because it is such a heinously bad act. Like, so we separate these things into moral obligations and just moral virtues kind of thing, things that are morally virtuous, but not, doing them or lack thereof doesn't make you an immoral person. Now we're talking about etiquette. Okay, just you don't understand morality. It's ridiculous. Like, seriously, would you please look up morality and then find out what it is before you come back and start saying this? Seriously, I'm just going to ignore your comments. I'm sorry, ExoMusic, you don't understand what it is. What I might do is link Sanford Encyclopedia and just sort of. I'd love to hear your definition of morality. I would love to hear it because that would actually be good because I don't think you understand what it is. I'm sorry. So that goes into morality kind of thing. Yeah, correct. If you are lying to your wife about cheating, it is immoral. It's not going to violate any kind of law or statute out there. It's not. You should hydrate, Mark. I absolutely should. You're 100% right. I do have hydration. It's mostly empty. It is mostly empty. Yeah. I did drink a lot before I started, but yes, my voice is getting a bit rough. I do apologize. Good to see you, NetTube user. Okay, so a lot of arguments about morality. Yeah, I'm not engaging until people learn what morality is. If people learn what morality is, I'm more than happy to engage them. But at this point, it's sort of, you don't understand what it is. You have to go, oh, thank you so much, sweetie. See, that is a morally virtuous thing to do, is get me coffee. That is morally virtuous, and I appreciate it. I really do. Okay, no problem. Yeah, no, ExoMusic, I'm not engaging with you anymore until you figure out what morality is. Like, sorry, I can't. Like, we can't even agree on what morality is. I don't know what I can do for you. I've provided a link. Could you please read it? Like, actually read it and find out what morality is, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Yeah, ExoMusic's an atheist. Yeah, no, I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of that. But please, ExoMusic, please read it. I will read anything that you like. If you post something saying what morality is, your definition from somewhere, I will happily read it. Okay, I will. Please read mine. Read the Stanford, just the definitions of it. Okay. Okay. What fallacy? What fallacy? What's the fallacy? What's the fallacy? You can't just say it's a fallacy and then move on. What's the fallacy? What's the logical fallacy? What is the logical fallacy there? If I'm making a fallacy, I want to know what it is. What is it? You can't just say fallacy and then sort of loading values on things you're calling immoral. That's not a fallacy. Loading values on things you're calling immoral. That isn't a fallacy. You could say I'm begging the question. Is that what you're trying to say? That I'm assuming things not in evidence that I haven't shown to be true? Is that what you're saying? I don't know what you're saying because, like ExoMusic, fallacies are certain things you refer to. Like if somebody says, hey, I know a God exists because, a book, and I know the book is true because the God makes it true. That's a circular argument. If you're saying, hey, I just know a God exists, you're begging the question. They're actual fallacies. You use the example of calling someone a name. You need some grounding to establish some immorality in that. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I'm a moral anti-realist, okay? And I'm a meta-ethical relativist. Right. So what does that mean? Can you tell me what that means? Can you demonstrate what that means, Exy Music? That I'm a meta-ethical relativist? Word salad. Really? Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Are you serious? Okay. Well, let me. Do you agree that if I'm using word salad, I won't be able to explain it? Right. So, do you agree if I'm using word salad, I won't be able to explain what I'm talking about? Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? Okay, yeah, no, I can explain it. Okay, so meta ethics is basically why you are following the moral system you're following. So morality is what you ought to do. Meta ethics is sort of the system in which you follow, right? So it means that, hey, the goal of, say, utilitarianism, right, may be pleasure. Okay, the want of pleasure is the meta ethics. It's the reason why you are following that moral system. Okay, so the moral system is the moral system. So the meta ethical reason why someone would be following the Bible for their morals or be a Christian for their morals, the meta ethics would be for the glory of God. Okay, it is the reason why they're following it. It is understanding why they're following the system that they're following. Right, that's the meta ethics. Okay, so the meta ethical system of Christianity has the goal of um, promoting the glory of God and in forming His kingdom forever, etc., etc. Now, I don't think that there is any reason why that is objective. I think that meta ethics, or the reason why people follow moral systems, is relative. There's different reasons people do it. Like a hedonist may say, well, I want the most pleasure. A hedonist being somebody that, just wants pleasure for themselves. That may be the reason why they're following the morality that they're following, right? So I don't think there's anything objective. I think we just create the goals for our moral systems, and that's what the meta-ethical relativity means. It means we just make up what we want out of these goals. That's what I think. Now, once we have agreed on that as a population, if we say, hey, secular humanists, we agree that we want human well-being, then we can establish a moral system within that meta-ethical framework that will get us to that goal or lead us away from that goal. So from that point onwards, things that we ought to do in virtue of getting to human well-being, right? Because we can say, hey, if we want human well-being, then living as a cooperative society and supporting one another is what we ought to do to get to that goal. Um, killing everybody around us. We ought not to do that if we want to get to human well-being. And I'm not saying we have to get to human well-being. I'm saying that part's relative. We've just decided that human well-being is something that we want. And that may be based upon pure intuition or feelings or whatever. It may be. I don't know. But my position is that once we have that framework, we can say this we ought to do and this we ought not to do in virtue of that goal. Right? So when you say, well, you have to ground why you ought to do that, it's because I am trying to get to human well-being. I don't claim that anybody else has to try to get to human well-being. I don't claim that. I don't say that they have to think that. They can think anything they want. But what I'm saying, that this entire segment, because you always show up late and do this, from the start, I say we're looking through a lens of secular humanism. What is the problem in society that we're trying to fix? We're trying to improve human well-being because there are people out there who have very terrible lives. Their well-being is very, very bad. There is problems. I mean, really, there's problems with food, there's problems with water, there's problems with toxins in the atmosphere, there's problems with global warming, there's problems with overpopulation, there's problems with housing, there's problems with finance, there's problems with rising sea levels, there's problems. Like, are you serious? I don't even know what to say to you. Like, seriously, I don't know what to say to you. But anyway, so that's basically where it comes from. I don't demand anybody else. Yes, we're living in the best times that have ever been. But Steven Pinker doesn't say, well, that's the upper limit. We should all stop trying to make the world better. What makes you think that Steven Pinker saying, hey, we live in good times, means Steven Pinker saying, hey, we shouldn't try to improve anything? I don't even know what to say to you. Okay, yeah, I'm going to ignore your X music until you've actually learned what morals are. Please, I'm not even. Seriously, I agree. That's my goal as well. I like how have I forgotten his name? God, who's a neurologist? Sam Harris. Oh, how did I forget that name? I like Sam Harris's human well-being because we can kind of, maybe not totally objectively, but we can have some real good analysis of what makes a human physically healthy, especially, and psychologically healthy. We can you know, we know what makes a human mentally well. You know, we kind of have that down more and more, and that's a bit of a gray area, totally admit it. But human well-being, we can analyze that and see if someone is well or not. We do it all the time, and it may not be 100% perfect. We can get a really good idea, especially with physical well-being. You know, we can sort of, you know, think, no, it's okay, X music. It's just I don't, you know, I don't think you understand what morality is. I get you may have a different moral standard. That's fine, but this is my show, so I'm gonna, like, why would I use somebody else's moral standard? I don't know why I would do that, especially since I agree that, you know, the meta-ethical framework is kind of just, you know, can be any reason why you follow it. I don't, yeah. Correct. Oh, I 100% agree with that. If people have a polygamous relationship, you know, that's up to them. I don't have any problem with it. I'm a monogamist. I don't expect anyone to be the same. I'm totally on board with you, Ralph. Totally. But, you know, if I cheat on my wife, it would hurt her beyond belief. And so, you know, I don't. Okay, well, that's about doing. That was the last one I was going to do. So, yeah, but that sort of explains where I'm coming from in my morality. And, you know, it's a nice wrap up. So, if you do care about human flourishing and human well-being, if you do care about that, both the well-being of humans and the well-being of society, then secular humanism may be the good fit for you. I also do want to add that it's not like we don't have to be morally identical. Like I can completely work with a Christian who appreciates human well-being, right? If they believe their God wants humans to be well and they're following it, you know, and saying, hey, excuse me, we want humans, God wants humans to be well, so that's what we're going to try and do, be kind and take care of them and provide, you know, for their health and their mental wellness. I can totally work with that Christian. The fact that they think their morals come from God and I'm getting them from what I desire this world to be, that's not incompatible, right? We can work with that. It's when Christians are promoting, you know, feel guilt and feel shame over your sins and all this stuff, things that we know are not good for human well-being. That's where the problem is, right? Where they're doing stuff that is harmful to humans. That's where our problems are. Any Christian that's alongside human well-being, and we can talk about that. But the problem comes really when you sort of say, hey, I'm after human well-being, so this is what the oughts and oughts nots should be. That this is what the morals I have are. And they sort of say, well, my God commands me for human well-being, like to preserve human well-being, so we can discuss what's good for humans and what's not good for humans. That's a conversation we can have, and I'm perfectly happy to have it, right? It's something that we can discuss. But the problem is you run into Christians that are like, it's the question isn't what's good for human well-being. The question is whether God approves of it or not, right? So if you want to have a discussion about morals between someone who's interested in human well-being and someone who thinks that God just has a problem or likes stuff, how do you then have that conversation? At least with human well-being, you can say, hey, this is how it benefits humans. This is what happens if we don't do this thing. They can present, if it's beneficial to humans, they will convince me otherwise. If they can present, you can have a discussion. If you're going up against, well, my God says, at that point, it is arguing with someone's imaginary friend, right? It is arguing with someone who says, my friend says it's bad. What are you supposed to do at that point? Because no amount of, okay, if we implement this policy, it will benefit society in all these different ways. It will benefit individuals in all these different ways. It'll benefit families in all these different ways. No amount of that information will ever convince them otherwise if their moral standard is, my friend says. There's nothing that will convince them that that is good at all. So I don't know how we get over that. I think pointing out that some of these things are really bad for humans is the only way to go. But if they think that their God just says what's good and what's bad, I don't know how to have that conversation. Besides trying to say, show me this God. Show me the God. Because a lot of people, as they pointed out in chat, we've got Iron Age morals from the Christians, but it's not the Iron Age anymore. They don't work now. Stoning your kid to death for, dishonoring their parents does not work now. It is not something that works. So, it's a question of whether it's moral if someone compels you to do the right thing. Is a question of, can we find the person that exists that is apparently laying down all these morals? And even if that person is laying down morals, do they even work in today's society? And that's the questions I have. But thank you so much for joining me. Oh, look, I disagree with a lot Sam Harris has to say. Sterling, don't get me wrong. I disagree with a lot he has to say. Like he says he's sort of overcome the getting a ought from an is problem. I don't think he has. He thinks morality is objective. I disagree. There's a lot that I don't agree with him with. His attitude on Islam, I don't agree with. But that's not to say that I don't like his idea of human well-being. I do. But I agree with him on a lot. But that's okay. Anyway, take care. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Don't forget about those boundaries. If you're really uncomfortable doing something, do not sacrifice yourself to make other people feel good. It's not worth it. Instead, do things that you both feel good about. That's the way to do it. And, but be kind. Just say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Or at least try. All we can do is try, right? And, look back on it. If you don't think you ought to have done it in that way, don't shame yourself. As somebody pointed out in the chat, don't shame yourself. Don't say, hey, I should have done it this way and I should have done it that way. No, just say, hey, I'd prefer to have it this way going forward in the future. You can't change what's in the past. So don't get locked into that shame, guilt spiral that, religious people prey on. Don't get locked into it. It's not worth it. People make mistakes, make amends for the mistakes, say you'd prefer to do better in the future and try to do better. That's all. Take care of yourself and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.